In the depths of the unknown regions, where ancient stars die in silence, the Force screamed, not the gentle whisper Jedi meditate upon, not the seductive hunger Sith crave. This was something primal, a presence that bent space itself, a will so vast it registered as impossible across 10,000 worlds simultaneously. On Coruscant, every Jedi Master collapsed in unison, clutching their temples as visions of golden light and endless war flooded their minds. In the unknown regions, Sith Lords felt their connection to the dark side shudder, as if the galaxy itself recoiled. A rift tore open above the dead world of Korriban, bleeding reality like a wound in the cosmos. Through it stepped a figure ancient beyond reckoning, clad in armor that predated empires, eyes burning with the cold fire of absolute certainty. He had conquered daemons, united Terra, built legions to shake the stars. Now, he stood in a galaxy that did not know his name. This is Galaxy of Titans. The Force had existed for eons, a river flowing through all living things, connecting star to stone, predator to prey, Jedi to Sith. It was constant, eternal, unchanging, until it screamed. On Coruscant, Jedi Master Varnos Kyle was mid-meditation in the temple's highest spire when the sensation hit him like a physical blow. His eyes snapped open, pupils dilating to pinpricks as his hands clutched the armrests of his meditation chair. Around him, 24 other masters collapsed in synchronized agony, their communion with the Force suddenly invaded by something that could not exist. It felt like staring into a sun that stared back. Across the galaxy, every Force-sensitive being experienced the same moment of profound wrongness. On Dantooine, younglings wept without understanding why. On Dromund Kaas, where Sith remnants plotted in secret, Dark Lords clutched their chests as their connection to the dark side wavered, not severed, but suddenly insignificant compared to whatever had just entered their reality. In the Senate Tower, Chancellor Dorian Vex was addressing the assembly when every aide, every senator with even the slightest Force sensitivity, gasped in unison. The chamber fell silent. Holocams captured the moment perfectly. Hundreds of beings across dozens of species, all frozen, all looking in the same direction, toward the unknown regions, toward Korriban. The rift opened 12 kilometers above the Valley of the Dark Lords, a wound in space that bled colors the electromagnetic spectrum had no names for. It pulsed like a dying heart, spreading fractures across the fabric of reality itself. Ancient Sith tombs, dormant for centuries, began to glow with reactive energy, as if recognizing a threat greater than any who had walked their halls. The atmosphere itself recoiled. Clouds spiraled away from the phenomenon, creating a perfect circle of clear sky above the dead world. Temperature dropped 40 degrees in seconds. Every piece of ancient technology, every dormant holocron, every cursed blade buried in those tombs began to hum with resonance. Then he emerged. The God Emperor of mankind stepped through the rift as if descending a staircase, his boots touching air that solidified beneath him through sheer force of will. He stood suspended 3 kilometers above the planet's surface, armor gleaming gold and crimson in the light of the dying rift behind him. His presence radiated outward like a psychic shockwave, not malicious, not benevolent, simply absolute. For a moment, he was still, golden eyes surveying the desolate world below, scanning, analyzing, understanding. Not Terra, he spoke, his voice carrying across the void despite the vacuum of near space. Not the warp, something else. He extended one gauntleted hand, and the Force responded not gently, not with the careful manipulation of a Jedi or the violent passion of a Sith. It responded the way gravity responds to mass, the way light bends near a black hole. Inevitably, the air around him ignited with golden flame that wasn't fire, energy that wasn't lightning, power that the galaxy had never witnessed because it originated from a universe where psychic might could reshape reality itself. He descended slowly, each meter marking his growing understanding of this new realm. His mind, vast and ancient, reached outward, touching the Force and finding it curious, malleable, powerful, yes, but undisciplined, divided into artificial concepts of light and dark, as if fundamental energy could have moral alignment. His lips curved into something that might have been a smile on a lesser being. On him, it was the expression of a conqueror seeing fertile ground. On Coruscant, Master Kale finally found his voice. Call the Council, all of them, now. Around him, Jedi were rising slowly, hands still trembling. One of the younger knights spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "Master, what was that? I've never felt anything like—" "None of us have," Kale interrupted, moving toward the chamber's holocommunicator with practiced urgency. "Not in 1,000 years. Not in 10,000. He activated the priority channel that would reach every Jedi Council member simultaneously. That presence, it registered across the entire galaxy at once. The Force itself bent around it. Bent. Another master, Serena Vey, touched her temple where blood had trickled from her nose during the initial contact. "Master Kale, the Force doesn't bend around anything. It flows through all things equally." Kale turned to face her, and his expression was grave. "It does now. Whatever just entered our galaxy, it's not just strong in the Force. It's—" He struggled for words that could encompass what he'd felt. "It's something the Force has never encountered before, and I don't think it asked permission." The holocommunicator flared to life, projecting blue-tinted images of council members from across the galaxy. Grandmaster Novar Drex appeared first, his aged Keldor features drawn with concern. "You all felt it," Drex stated simply. Not a question. 11 heads nodded in unison. "Then we have little time. I'm dispatching our fastest ships to the epicenter. Master Kale, you'll lead the investigation team. Take our best battlemaster Kira, Sage Tolvar, and Shadow Agent Rin. Whatever this is, we need to understand it before—" "Before what, Grand Master?" asked Master Vey. Drex's silence spoke volumes. "Finally, before it understands us." In the unknown regions, the God Emperor stood on Korriban's surface now, one hand pressed against the entrance to an ancient tomb. He could feel the echoes of dark side energy within hatred, fear, ambition crystallized into architecture. Primitive, but effective. "They worship their tools," he murmured, fingers tracing Sith runes that glowed faintly at his touch. "They've mistaken the mechanism for the truth." He stepped back, and with a gesture, the massive stone door simply ceased to exist. Not exploded, not disintegrated, but unmade, its atoms dispersing as if they'd never been arranged into matter at all. Inside, holocrons flickered to life, Sith Lords long dead attempting to impart their wisdom. He listened for 3 seconds, then silenced them with a thought. "Children," he said to the empty tomb, "playing with forces they call gods." His eyes glowed brighter, scanning deeper, reaching further. Through the Force, he could sense them now, billions upon billions of minds across this galaxy. Humans, near humans, and countless xeno-species, all connected to this strange energy field they called the Force. All of them potential, all of them tools or obstacles. He would determine which soon enough. The God Emperor of mankind turned away from the tomb, his gaze lifting toward the stars where he could sense the approaching ships. Investigators, no doubt. Warriors, perhaps philosophers. Good, he had questions. And he'd learned long ago that the fastest way to understand a civilization was to meet those it sent to face the unknown. His lips moved, speaking words in a language this galaxy had never heard. Let them come. Let them see what true unity looks like. Let them choose. Thunder rolled across Korriban's dead sky, though there were no clouds. The Force trembled, and the God Emperor waited. The Jedi strike team emerged from hyperspace with military precision 4 ships, sleek and purpose-built, their hulls bearing the insignia of the Order. Master Kale's vessel led the formation, sensors already screaming warnings about the anomalous energy readings emanating from Korriban's surface. "By the Force," whispered Battlemaster Kira from the co-pilot seat, her leku twitching with agitation. "The readings are..." "Master, the entire planet's Force signature has changed. It's like someone rewrote the underlying frequency." Kale studied the displays, his weathered face illuminated by amber light. Korriban had always radiated dark side energy, cold, predatory, hungry. Now it felt different, not cleansed, but dominated, as if something had imposed order upon chaos through sheer refusal to accept any other outcome. "Shadowrin, what are your scanners showing?" Kale activated the comm to the stealth ship hanging back at the formation's edge. The response came in Rin's clipped professional tone. "One life form, surface level, Valley of the Dark Lords, approximately 2 kilometers from the largest tomb complex." A pause. "Master Kale, the energy signature isn't just strong, it's stratified, layered. I'm reading psychic resonance patterns that don't match any known Force signature in our archives." "Meaning?" asked Sage Tolvar from the 3rd ship, his scholarly voice crackling over the comm. "Meaning whoever or whatever is down there isn't just powerful. They're operating on principles the Force doesn't normally follow. It's like..." Rin struggled for comparison, like trying to analyze a 3-dimensional object using only 2-dimensional instruments. Kale felt the familiar weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Grandmaster Drex had chosen him because he was level-headed, diplomatic, and most importantly because he'd survived encounters with Sith Lords, dark side artifacts, and political nightmares that would have broken lesser Jedi. But this felt different in ways he couldn't articulate. "All ships maintain high orbit." "Kira, you're with me." "Tolvar, establish a sensor perimeter." "Rin, stay ready for extraction." Kale stood, his hand instinctively checking the lightsaber at his hip, a gesture that suddenly felt inadequate. "If this goes wrong..." "It won't," Kira interrupted, standing beside him with the easy confidence of someone who'd spent 40 years mastering every lightsaber form. "We're Jedi. Whoever they are, the Force is with us." Kale wanted to believe that, but as their shuttle descended toward Korriban's surface, he couldn't shake the memory of that initial contact, the sensation of something so vast that the Force itself seemed to serve it rather than flow through it. The God Emperor watched their approach with interest. His perception extended far beyond normal vision, his consciousness touching theirs as easily as a human might brush fingers across silk. He felt their discipline, their training, their absolute conviction that the Force granted them authority in matters of cosmic significance. Admirable, misguided, but admirable. He stood in the center of the valley, surrounded by the architecture of dead Sith Lord statues of forgotten tyrants, obelisks carved with promises of eternal power, tombs that whispered secrets to those foolish enough to listen. All of it felt small now. Theatrical, like children playing at divinity while the true scope of existence remained forever beyond their comprehension. The shuttle landed 200 meters away, kicking up red dust that hung in Korriban's thin atmosphere. He watched 2 figures emerge, a human male, gray hair and weathered face marking him as experienced, and a Twi'lek female whose movements spoke of martial mastery. Both wore robes of brown and tan. Both carried weapons of focused plasma that hummed with kyber crystal resonance. Lightsabers, elegant, but ultimately just swords. They approached cautiously, stopping 50 meters away. The Force swirled around them, protective, curious, cautious. He could feel them reaching out with their senses, trying to understand what stood before them. Let them try. Greetings, the male spoke, his voice carrying clearly across the distance. I am Master Varnos Kael of the Jedi Order. My companion is Battlemaster Kira. We sensed your arrival, the entire galaxy did. We come in peace, seeking understanding. A pause. May we know who you are? The God Emperor considered the question. Names held power, but context gave them meaning. In this galaxy, in this era, his name would mean nothing. Yet, I am called many things, he replied, his voice resonating with harmonics that made both Jedi tense involuntarily. Warlord, Unifier, Anathema. Once, I was simply a man who watched humanity tear itself apart and decided to prevent it. Now, he gestured toward the sky, toward the stars beyond. I find myself in a realm that does not know me. Tell me, Jedi, what is this place? What age has my displacement brought me to? Kael exchanged a glance with Kira. This is Korriban, an ancient world of the Sith. The year is 3642 by the Galactic Standard Calendar. The galaxy is governed by the Galactic Republic, a democratic union of thousands of systems. The Jedi serve as peacekeepers and peacekeepers. The God Emperor's tone suggested he'd sampled the word and found it wanting. Tell me, Master Kael, how effective is peacekeeping when your very philosophy requires you to be reactive rather than proactive? How many worlds burn while you meditate on proper response? The question landed like a blade. Kira's hand moved fractionally closer to her lightsaber. We act when action is needed, Kael replied carefully. We do not impose our will through force. The Jedi way is to serve the Force, to maintain balance. Balance. The God Emperor took a single step forward, and both Jedi felt the pressure in the Force. Intensify, not threatening, but present, like standing before a tidal wave that hadn't yet decided to crash. You speak of balance as if it were a virtue. But balance between what? Light and darkness? Order and chaos? His golden eyes seemed to pierce through their very souls. I have seen what balance creates, Master Kael. Eternal conflict, civilizations that rise and fall in cycles because no one possesses the will to break the cycle. And you do, Kira asked, her voice sharp. You possess that will? I possess certainty. The God Emperor raised one gauntleted hand, and the Force responded, not drawn to him, but answering him like a soldier to a general. The air between them shimmered with golden light. I have united worlds through reason, through strength, through the understanding that humanity's survival requires singular vision. Your republic speaks of democracy, while bureaucrats dither and systems secede. Your Jedi speak of peace, while Sith plot in shadows. He clenched his fist, and every ancient Sith artifact in the valley simultaneously cracked, their dark side energy dispersing like smoke. I speak of unity, absolute, unbreakable, eternal. Master Kael felt sweat bead on his forehead, despite Korriban's cold air. This, being this anomaly, had just casually dismissed centuries of accumulated dark side power as if swatting insects. And his words, they carried the weight of absolute conviction, the kind that had toppled governments and founded religions. Unity through conquest is tyranny, Kael stated, fighting to keep his voice level. The Jedi Order cannot allow. Cannot allow? The God Emperor's laugh was not cruel, but it was immense, a sound that echoed across dimensions. Master Kael, you misunderstand our positions. I am not asking for your permission. I am not seeking your approval. He gestured toward the sky where their ships orbited. I am informing you that this galaxy stands at a crossroads. It can continue its cycle of conflict, Jedi versus Sith, Republic versus Empire, light versus dark, endlessly repeating until entropy claims you all. He lowered his hand. Or it can accept guidance, direction, the kind of unity that transforms scattered worlds into something worthy of the cosmos. And if we refuse? Kira's hand was on her lightsaber now, though she hadn't activated it. The God Emperor's gaze settled on her, and for a moment she felt what it meant to be truly seen. Every strength, every weakness, every fear and hope laid bare before something that had existed for millennia. Then you'll join the long list of those who chose principle over survival, he said softly. And I will mourn you as I've mourned countless others who possessed nobility but lacked vision. The silence stretched. Somewhere above, a ship's sensor ping echoed across the calm frequencies. Dust swirled between the three figures, caught in Korriban's perpetual wind. Finally, Master Kale spoke. I must report this to the Jedi Council. They will want to meet you, to understand your intentions fully. Of course. The God Emperor inclined his head slightly, not a bow, but acknowledgement. Arrange it. I am curious to see what your wisest minds make of me. His smile returned, ancient and knowing. And they will be equally curious, I think, about what I make of them. Kael and Kira backed away slowly, neither willing to turn their backs on this being. As they reached their shuttle, Kael activated his comm. All ships, prepare for immediate departure. We're returning to Coruscant. He paused. And someone get me a direct line to Grand Master Drex. What we just encountered. He glanced back at the golden figure standing calmly amid the ruins of Sith power. It's going to change everything. The God Emperor watched them leave, his expression unreadable. Around him, Korriban's dead valley felt somehow emptier, as if his presence had consumed even the echoes of ancient darkness. So it begins, he murmured to himself. Another galaxy. Another chance to build what humanity needs. His eyes turned skyward, toward Coruscant, toward the Republic, toward civilizations that didn't yet know their world was about to fundamentally transform. Come, philosophers, he whispered into the Force itself, knowing every sensitive being in the galaxy would feel the words like pressure in their minds. Come, warriors, come, and learn what true unity demands. Thunder answered him again, and the stars seemed to dim just slightly, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. The Jedi High Council chamber had witnessed countless debates across millennia, discussions of war and peace, light and darkness, destiny and free will, but never had its 12 seats been filled with such palpable tension. The circular room, positioned at the temple's apex, seemed smaller somehow, as if the weight of what they were about to decide pressed inward against the very walls. Grand Master Novar Drex sat motionless in his chair, aged hands folded across his lap, his breathing apparatus clicking softly in the silence. Around him, 11 other council members waited, some standing, others seated, all of them connected through the Force in a meditation circle that had lasted 3 hours. 3 hours of reviewing Master Kale's report, 3 hours of examining the sensor data, 3 hours of feeling that presence still radiating from Korriban like a psychic beacon none of them could ignore. We must act. Battlemaster Soren finally broke the silence, his Zabrak features sharp with conviction. This being arrives in our galaxy, demonstrates power that dwarfs anything in our archives, and openly speaks of conquest, of imposing his vision upon the Republic. This is not a diplomatic matter. This is a threat we barely understand, countered Master Vey, her fingers tracing patterns on the armrest of her chair. Kale's report indicates the being showed no hostility. Arrogant, yes. Dangerous, absolutely. But he didn't attack. He conversed. He destroyed Sith artifacts with a gesture, Soren shot back. He manipulated the Force in ways that defy every principle we've established, and his words, unity through singular vision, those are the words of every tyrant who's every tyrant and every savior, interrupted Master Venzalo, the scholar's voice calm but firm. We cannot judge intent solely on philosophy. The Sith speak of peace through power. The Mandalorians speak of honor through combat. We speak of balance through non-attachment. All of these sound tyrannical to those who don't share the underlying values. Grand Master Drex raised one hand, and the chamber fell silent. His ancient eyes moved slowly across each council member, reading them through decades of familiarity. Master Kale, Drex's voice was gravelly but clear. You stood before him. You felt his presence directly. What does your instinct tell you about his nature? Kale, standing in the center of the circle as was protocol for reporting Jedi, took a slow breath. Grand Master, I've faced Sith Lords who radiated hatred, dark Jedi consumed by passion, Force-sensitive warlords drunk on power. This being. He paused, searching for precision. He radiates certainty. Not passion certainty, as if he solved an equation the rest of the universe is still struggling with, and that makes him more dangerous than any Sith, because he's not driven by emotion. He's driven by conviction so absolute, it bends reality around it. Did you sense deception? Asked Master Rel, a Miraluka whose Force sight had proven invaluable in countless negotiations. No, Kale admitted. That's what troubles me most. Every word he spoke, he believed with totality. When he said he'd mourn those who opposed him, I felt genuine regret in those words. But also inevitability, as if our deaths were already calculated into some grand strategy. Then he's already decided to conquer the Republic, Soren stated flatly. Or save it, Master Adenkir spoke up, the youngest council member's voice carrying an edge that made several heads turn. Have we considered that possibility? That he looks at our Republic bureaucracy, choked, inefficient, constantly threatened by Sith remnants, and sees a civilization in need of intervention. That's not his decision to make, Master Vey replied sharply. Isn't it? Kier leaned forward. We claim to serve the Force, to be guided by its will. What if the Force brought him here? What if this disruption isn't an invasion but a correction? The chamber erupted. 3 council members spoke at once, voices rising, philosophical positions colliding with political realities. Drex let it continue for exactly 30 seconds before raising his hand again. Enough. The single word carried Force weight that silenced everyone instantly. Master Kier raises a point we cannot ignore. The Force itself bent around this being's arrival. Every prophecy chamber in the temple activated simultaneously. The shaman of the Wills sent us an emergency transmission claiming the chains of destiny have been reforged. Drex's breathing apparatus hissed. We are not debating whether to stop a mere warlord. We are debating how to respond to what may be a fundamental shift in the Force itself. Then we invite him here, said Master Tolvar, who'd remained silent until now. The elderly scholar adjusted his spectacles. We invite him to Coruscant. To the temple, we give him audience before the full council and the Senate if necessary. We engage him philosophically, morally, intellectually. If he truly believes in unity through reason, then let him reason with us. And if reason fails? Asked Soren. Tolvar met his gaze steadily. Then we learn more about our enemy while demonstrating the Republic's willingness to seek peaceful solutions. Either outcome serves us. Drex nodded slowly. Master Kale, your assessment, can he be reasoned with? Kale considered carefully. Yes, but on his terms, Grandmaster. He doesn't see himself as petitioner or invader. He sees himself as inevitable. Like gravity or time, you can work with gravity, even harness it, but you cannot negotiate it away. He paused. If we invite him, we must be prepared for the possibility that he'll accept, and in accepting, demonstrate to the entire Republic that we acknowledge his legitimacy. The alternative is to strike preemptively, Sorin said quietly. A combined fleet, our most powerful masters. End this before it begins. The silence that followed was suffocating. No, Drex's word was final. The Jedi do not assassinate beings because we fear what they might do. We are not the Sith. He straightened in his chair, decision crystallizing. We extend the invitation. Master Tolvar is correct. We engage him philosophically. We show him that the Republic's strength lies not in singular vision, but in diversity of thought. We demonstrate that unity can exist without tyranny, and if he rejects that demonstration, Master Vey asked, then the Force will guide us, Drex replied, as it always has. 3 days later, the transmission was sent. Encrypted, direct-beamed to Korriban, carrying the official seal of the Jedi High Council and the authority of the Galactic Senate. The God Emperor received it standing atop the highest tomb in the Valley of the Dark Lords, his armor gleaming in the light of Korriban's red sun. He listened to the formal invitation, eloquent, diplomatic, carefully worded to suggest equality while maintaining institutional dignity. When it finished, he smiled. They invite me to justify myself, he said to the empty air, to stand before their council and debate philosophy while they assess whether I'm threat or ally. His smile widened. They still believe they have the authority to judge me. He activated the return transmission, his image projecting across light years in real time through technology his mind had already begun to understand and improve upon. Grandmaster Drex. His voice echoed through the Jedi Council chamber, causing several masters to flinch at the sheer presence it carried even through holocom. I accept your invitation. I will come to Coruscant. I will stand before your council and your senate. I will speak of unity, of vision, of what this galaxy could become under proper guidance. He paused, and when he continued, every Jedi in the temple felt the words resonate through the Force itself. But understand this, I do not come as supplicant. I do not come to seek approval or permission. I come to offer you a choice that every civilization I've encountered has ultimately faced. Evolve or be surpassed. Embrace unity or continue your slow decay into chaos. Another pause. His golden eyes seemed to pierce through the hologram, seeing each council member individually despite the distance. I have walked among humanity for 40,000 years. I have seen empires rise from glory and fall to indulgence. I have watched philosophers debate while worlds burned. I have mourned the deaths of billions who died because their leaders lacked the strength to make necessary choices. His voice softened, almost gentle. I do not wish to add this galaxy to that count, but I will not allow sentiment to prevent salvation. The transmission ended. In the council chamber, silence reigned. Master Kale felt his heart hammering in his chest. That hadn't been a negotiation. That had been a warning. He's coming, Drex said unnecessarily. Alert the Senate, mobilize our diplomatic corps, and he met each council member's gaze in turn. Prepare yourselves. When he arrives, we will be deciding the fate of the entire Republic. Perhaps, Master Venzalo said quietly, we already have. Across the galaxy, in the unknown regions where Sith remnants plotted their return, Dark Lord Vesh felt the disturbance and smiled behind his mask. The Jedi were distracted, the Republic was in turmoil. And this new player, this arrogant fool who spoke of unity, was walking directly into the heart of galactic power. Perfect. Let them debate philosophy, Vesh murmured to his assembled acolytes. Let them waste time trying to understand what cannot be controlled. While they're fixated on this golden tyrant, we'll reclaim what's rightfully ours. His apprentice, a human woman named Darth Sevra, stepped forward. Master, The intelligence suggests this being destroyed our artifacts on Korriban effortlessly. He may be a greater threat than— He is mortal, Vesh interrupted. Powerful, yes. But the dark side has consumed gods before. If he stands against us, we'll add his corpse to our foundation. He turned to face the assembly, red eyes glowing behind his mask. Prepare the fleet. When chaos erupts on Coruscant, and it will, we strike. The Republic, the Jedi, and this golden fool will all fall before the true inheritors of the Sith legacy. The assembled Sith bowed as one, and across the galaxy, pieces moved on a board whose scope none of them fully comprehended. The God Emperor stood on Korriban, preparing for his journey to Coruscant. Around him, the Force churned and twisted, trying to categorize him, trying to understand what he represented. It would fail. It always did, because the God Emperor of mankind was not an anomaly to be understood. He was change itself, clothed in gold and certainty, walking toward a galaxy that thought it knew the shape of destiny. It would learn otherwise soon enough. The Republic Senate Chamber was a monument to democracy, a vast circular arena where representatives from 10,000 worlds gathered beneath a dome that touched the clouds. Repulsor platforms floated in orbital patterns around the central podium, each bearing senators whose voices theoretically held equal weight in galactic governance. Theoretically. Chancellor Dorian Vex stood at the central podium, his aged human features projected on screens throughout the chamber. He'd weathered political storms for 30 years, navigated crises that would have broken lesser leaders. But as he prepared to address the emergency session, he felt something he'd rarely experienced: genuine uncertainty about the Republic's future. Honored senators. His voice amplified across the chamber, silencing the 1,000 conversations happening simultaneously. 3 days ago, every Force-sensitive being in the galaxy experienced a disturbance of unprecedented magnitude. The Jedi Council has investigated and confirmed what many of you have already heard through unofficial channels. He paused, letting tension build. A being of immense power has entered our galaxy. He has been identified as a warlord and unifier from beyond our reality, someone who claims to have guided civilizations for 40 millennia. And he is coming to Coruscant. The chamber erupted. Repulsor platforms surged forward, senators shouting questions, accusations, demands. Vex raised his hands for silence, but it took 3 minutes before order was restored. Senator Orn of Alderaan, a human woman known for her measured diplomacy, was granted the floor first. Chancellor, the Jedi Council invited this being here, to the heart of the Republic, without consulting the Senate. The Jedi acted within their mandate as peacekeepers and investigators, Vex replied carefully. They determined that engagement was preferable to what? Senator Krios of Onderon, a Twi'lek male whose political career was built on military advocacy, interrupted despite protocol. Preferable to defending ourselves? This entity arrives uninvited, demonstrates power that dwarfs our understanding, speaks openly of conquest, and we invite him to address us. His platform moved aggressively toward the center. This is capitulation disguised as diplomacy. Applause erupted from dozens of platforms, mostly from the military caucus and Outer Rim representatives who'd long argued the Republic was too soft on external threats. Senator Mira Hollis of Corellia, an elder stateswoman whose political instincts were legendary, raised her hand for recognition. Chancellor, I've reviewed the Jedi's classified report. This being this God Emperor, he didn't threaten us directly. He spoke of unity, of guidance. While I'm cautious, I'm also curious about his actual intentions. Perhaps he genuinely believes he can help the Republic address our inefficiencies. The chamber divided instantly. Half the senators began shouting agreement, the other half shouting condemnation. The schism was predictable: reformists versus traditionalists, centralists versus federalists, the eternal debate about how much authority the Republic should consolidate versus distribute. Help us. Krios's voice dripped contempt. He's a tyrant. His words about singular vision and necessary choices, those are the words of every dictator who's ever, every dictator and every founder, Senator Hollis countered sharply. The Republic itself was created by individuals who imposed their vision of governance on chaos. The difference between tyranny and leadership often depends on whether you agree with the outcome. Are you seriously suggesting we consider? I'm suggesting we listen before we decide. Hollis's platform moved to center stage, her presence commanding attention. Senators, we face external threats constantly. Sith remnants in the unknown regions, Hutt cartels controlling entire sectors, Mandalorian clans raiding our borders, separatist movements on a dozen worlds. The Republic is not as strong as we pretend. She turned slowly, addressing the entire chamber. If this being has genuinely maintained civilizations for 40,000 years, perhaps we should at least hear his perspective before declaring him enemy. Chancellor Vex felt control of the session slipping. Senators, please. The Chancellor is right to be concerned. A new voice cut through the chaos. Senator Tam Adar of Coruscant, a human male whose family had held political power for generations, stood on his platform with the confidence of inherited authority. This isn't about whether we listen, it's about what happens when we do. If this God Emperor addresses the Senate, if he demonstrates his power before 10,000 worlds watching via holocast, we legitimize him. We tell the galaxy that the Republic acknowledges beings who arrive with force and demand audience. We tell the galaxy we're not afraid of new ideas. Hollis shot back. We tell the galaxy we're weak, Krios thundered. The debate devolved into shouting matches. Platforms jockeyed for position. Voting blocks formed and dissolved in real time as senators calculated political advantage versus genuine concern. Vex watched it unfold with growing dread. This was the Republic at its worst, paralyzed by debate, while crisis demanded action. He'd seen it before. The Mandalorian Wars, the Jedi Civil War, countless smaller conflicts where bureaucratic inertia cost lives because making a decision risked political capital. Finally, he slammed his hand on the podium's silence button, amplifying the sound across the chamber like a thunderclap. Enough. The chamber fell silent, shocked by the Chancellor's uncharacteristic outburst. This being is coming whether we vote on it or not, Vex said, his voice cold with pragmatic reality. The Jedi have extended the invitation. He has accepted. In approximately 72 hours, the God Emperor of mankind will arrive at Coruscant. We can choose to be prepared to present a unified front, to engage him from a position of strength, or we can continue debating until he's standing in this very chamber, deciding for us. He let that sink in. I'm calling for an immediate vote on emergency protocols. Full military alert status. Jedi Council granted expanded authority to coordinate security. Diplomatic Corps mobilized for first contact scenarios, and... He paused, knowing this next part would be controversial. I'm invoking executive privilege to declare this a Priority 1 situation, which means final decision-making authority rests with this office until the crisis is resolved. The chamber exploded again, but Vex had expected that. Priority 1 declarations were rare, controversial, and often seen as steps toward authoritarianism, but they were also fast, and speed was what the Republic needed. The vote was called. The chamber divided almost exactly in half 4,892 inches favor, 4,731 against 377 abstaining. It passed by the narrowest of margins. As the session dissolved into subsidiary debates, Vex retreated to his private office and collapsed into his chair. His chief of staff, a Bothan named Kel Soran, entered moments later. The vote bought you authority, Chancellor. but you've made powerful enemies. Senator Krios is already organizing a no-confidence motion for when this is over. If we survive this, Kel, they can have their vote." Vex rubbed his temples. "What's the Jedi Council's latest assessment?" "Grandmaster Drex requests a private meeting. Tonight. Says it's urgent. Everything is urgent now." Vex stood, moving to the window that overlooked Coruscant's endless cityscape. Billions of beings down there, going about their lives, unaware that their entire civilization was about to be tested. "Tell the Grand Master I'll meet him. And Kel? Increase security at all government centers. Deploy the Republic Guard. If this goes wrong, it won't," Kel said with more confidence than he felt. Vex didn't reply. He just stared at the sky, wondering what it would look like when a golden warlord descended from the stars. In the Jedi Temple's meditation gardens, Master Kale walked alone among ancient trees transplanted from 1,000 worlds. He sought clarity, peace, connection to the Force that might guide him through what was coming. Instead, he found doubt. "You feel it too," a voice said behind him. Master Venzalo stepped from the shadows, his scholarly robes rustling softly. "The fear, the uncertainty. I feel the future fracturing," Kale admitted. "Every meditation shows me branching paths, but none of them clear. It's like the Force itself doesn't know what happens next, or knows and cannot show us." Zalo replied, joining him on the garden path. "I've been researching ancient texts, prophecies, historical accounts of beings who disrupted the Force's natural flow. There are precedents, rare ones, beings who existed outside the normal causality of the Force. And what happened to them? They either became legends," Zalo paused, "or they burned the galaxy trying." Kyle felt cold despite the garden's warmth. "He's going to force us to choose, isn't he? Between our principles and our survival." "Perhaps that's the test," Zalo suggested. "Perhaps the Force brought him here specifically to see what we'll choose when philosophy confronts reality." "I'd prefer a less dramatic test," Zalo smiled sadly. "The Force has never been known for subtlety." They walked in silence, two Jedi contemplating the end of the age they'd known, or perhaps the beginning of something they couldn't yet comprehend. Deep in Coruscant's underworld, where legitimate authority ended and criminal enterprise reigned, the news spread differently. The Hutt cartel's representatives gathered in shadowed chambers. Exchange bosses calculated profit margins in chaos. Black Sun operatives saw opportunity in disruption. Gorga the Hutt, controller of the Coruscant underworld's western sectors, watched the Senate broadcast with eyes that gleamed with predatory intelligence. His translator droid stood nearby, awaiting commands. "This God Emperor," Gorga rumbled in Hutes. "He speaks of unity and order. Bad for business. Perhaps, Great Gorga," the droid translated his advisor's response. "Or perhaps his arrival creates markets. Instability always does. Weapons, intelligence, safe passage for those who wish to flee or fight." Gorga's massive body rippled with what might have been laughter. "Prepare our assets. When gods fight, the clever grow rich on their corpses." Across the underworld, similar conversations occurred. The criminal element of Coruscant, vast, organized, utterly pragmatic, began positioning itself to profit from whatever came next. They didn't care about philosophy or politics. They cared about survival and credits, in that order. And they knew from long experience that when governments fell into crisis, fortunes were made by those willing to exist in the gaps. On a Republic cruiser stationed at Coruscant's orbital defense perimeter, Admiral Jace Corridon reviewed deployment orders with growing frustration. His second-in-command, Commander Tessa Varn, stood beside him on the bridge. "They want us to treat him like a visiting dignitary," Corridon said, disbelief clear in his voice. "Full honor guard. Diplomatic protocols. The entire fleet on parade readiness. He tossed the datapad aside. We should be preparing for battle, not ceremony. Orders are orders, Admiral, Vaughn replied, though her tone suggested agreement. Orders written by politicians who've never seen real combat. Corridon turned to face his bridge crew. Listen up. I don't care what the protocols say. If that being shows even the slightest hint of hostility, we respond with overwhelming force. Every ship maintains weapons hot status. Every gunner stays at their station. We're soldiers first, honor guards second. Understood? A chorus of "Yes, sir" echoed across the bridge. Corridon returned his gaze to the view screen, where Coruscant's gleaming surface rotated slowly beneath them. Beautiful, fragile, home to trillions. Come on, then, he whispered to the stars. Come, show us what you are, and we'll show you what the Republic does to would-be conquerors. His hand rested on the command panel, ready to give orders that might start a war, or prevent one. He wouldn't know which until the God Emperor arrived. None of them would. The vessel that emerged from hyperspace above Coruscant was unlike anything in the Republic's extensive ship databases. It wasn't built, it was forged, a golden spear of impossible geometry that seemed to reject the laws of physics through sheer aesthetic defiance. 10 kilometers long, its hull inscribed with equations and symbols that hurt to perceive, it radiated power that made every force sensitive on the planet simultaneously wince. Admiral Corridon stared at his sensor displays in disbelief. That's not a ship, that's a weapon. Sensors can't get a clean reading. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, voice tight with stress. The energy signature is interfering with our equipment. It's like trying to scan a star at point-blank range. Weapons status? Hot and ready, sir. All batteries locked on target. But Admiral... The officer hesitated. Preliminary calculations suggest our main cannons wouldn't even scratch that hull. The energy shielding alone is reading at levels that shouldn't be. I don't care what should or shouldn't be possible, Corridon interrupted. Maintain firing solutions. If this goes wrong, we go down fighting. On the bridge's main view screen, a transmission request appeared. Corridon nodded sharply, and the hologram materialized the God Emperor, standing in what appeared to be a command throne room that radiated golden light. Admiral Corridon, the Emperor's voice carried an amused undertone. Your weapons are locked on my vessel. I appreciate the caution, but I assure you it's unnecessary. I came to talk, not conquer. Not today, at least. The casual addition of those last 3 words sent ice down Corridon's spine. This is Republic space, the Admiral replied, keeping his voice level. You'll submit to standard inspection protocols and... No. The word was gentle but absolute. I will descend to your Senate chamber as invited. Your inspectors may observe my ship from a distance, but they will not board it, and your weapons will be stood down before I proceed. This is not negotiation, Admiral. This is courtesy. Corridon's jaw clenched. Every instinct screamed to open fire, to blast this arrogant being back to whatever hell had spawned him. But the tactical displays were clear. His fleet was outmatched in ways that defied military doctrine. Stand down, weapons, he ordered quietly. Then to the hologram. You're cleared for atmospheric approach. A Jedi escort will guide you to... I know where the Senate is, the Emperor interrupted. I've already mapped your entire planet. Impressive infrastructure, though your lower levels could benefit from reorganization. The hologram flickered. One last thing, Admiral. When this is over, you and I should talk. You strike me as a man who understands that sometimes principles must bow to pragmatism. The Republic could use more leaders with that clarity. The transmission ended before Corridon could respond. Sir, Commander Vaughn approached carefully. Did he just try to recruit you? No, Corridon said slowly, watching the golden vessel begin its descent. He just informed me I'd already been recruited. I just don't know it yet. He turned to his second. Get me a direct line to the Chancellor. And Tessa? Record everything. If this being does what I think he's going to do, we'll want evidence of exactly how the Republic died. In the depths of Coruscant's industrial sector, where legitimate business ended and shadows reigned, Darth Vesh materialized from a cloaked shuttle. His Sith robes blended with the darkness, his presence in the Force suppressed to a whisper. Around him, 12 apprentices and acolytes formed a protective perimeter, all of them hidden from Jedi sensors through techniques the Order believed had died with Darth Bane. The Jedi are distracted, Vesh spoke to his assembled followers. Every master in the temple is preparing for this false prophet's arrival. Their attention is divided, their guard is lowered. His red eyes gleamed behind his mask. We strike at the Senate during his address. While they debate philosophy with this golden fool, we'll decapitate the Republic's leadership. The chaos will be absolute. Darth Sevra, his most capable apprentice, stepped forward. Master, forgiveness. But should we not observe first? Learn what this being truly is before what? Vesh's voice carried a dangerous edge. Before he consolidates power? Before the weak-willed Senate accepts his guidance? No, the dark side has shown me the path clearly. This Emperor, whatever he is, represents change. And change creates vulnerability. He gestured toward the distant Senate building, barely visible through Coruscant's perpetual smog. We use that vulnerability. The explosion will eliminate hundreds of senators. The God Emperor will be blamed. The Republic will collapse into civil war. And from those ashes, the Sith Empire will rise again. His followers bowed in unison, though Sevra's bow was fractionally slower than the others. Vesh noticed but said nothing. Doubt was useful, it kept apprentices cautious. Only when doubt became defiance did it require correction. Prepare the charges, Vesh commanded. Thermal detonators won't work too much security. We'll use the dark side itself. A convergence ritual, channeled through the Senate's own power conduits. When the Emperor speaks, when every eye is upon him, we'll unleash entropy itself. A pause. And if he survives, we'll know he's worth corrupting. If he dies, he was never the threat we feared. The Sith dispersed into the shadows, each moving toward predetermined positions. But as they left, none of them noticed the figure watching from a maintenance platform, 2 levels above a robed form whose presence in the Force was so perfectly balanced it registered as nothing at all. Jedi Shadow Rin observed the Sith with trained patience, recording every word through subvocal implants. She'd tracked these remnants for 6 months, watching them grow bolder as Republic attention focused elsewhere. Now, finally, they'd revealed their plan. She activated her encrypted comm, transmitting directly to Master Kale. Shadow Rin reporting. Sith cell confirmed. 12 operatives, led by what appears to be a Dark Lord. They're planning an attack on the Senate during the God Emperor's address. Charges being placed now. Kale's response was immediate. Can you neutralize them alone? Negative. I count at least 3 full Sith, the rest acolytes. Engaging would compromise my position and alert them to our awareness. Then maintain surveillance. I'm dispatching a strike team. Whatever happens with this Emperor, we can't allow the Sith to... Static, interrupted. Rin, stand by. The Emperor's ship is entering atmosphere. Force, presence is. By the light. It's overwhelming. Every Jedi in the temple just felt it. Rin felt it too, a pressure in the Force like gravity intensifying, pulling everything toward a singular point of absolute will. She gripped the railing to steady herself, watching the Sith below react with similar disorientation. Darth Vesh stumbled, catching himself against a wall. What is that? Sevra's voice was tight with fear. Master, the Force itself is bending. I've never felt anything like silence. Vesh straightened, forcing control over his trembling limbs. It's just power. Raw, undisciplined power. The dark side is stronger. Remember that. Remember. But even as he spoke, every Sith present could feel the lie. This wasn't just power. This was something that made the distinction between light and dark seem trivial, like arguing about the color of an ocean while ignoring its depth. The God Emperor's vessel descended through Coruscant's atmosphere like a falling star reversed, not crashing, but arriving with inevitability. Traffic patterns automatically adjusted around it, ships scattering before its approach, despite no explicit threat. Some things simply commanded respect through existence. On the Senate landing platform, a kilometer-wide structure reserved for visiting dignitaries and heads of state, Chancellor Vex waited with an assembly that represented the Republic's might. 50 Jedi Masters in formal robes, 200 Republic guards in ceremonial armor, senators from the most powerful worlds, holocam crews broadcasting to 1 trillion viewers across the galaxy, and in the center, Grand Master Drex, leaning heavily on his walking staff, his ancient face composed but his connection to the Force trembling with anticipation. "He's stronger than I expected," Drex murmured to Master Kale, who stood at his right hand. "How much stronger, Grand Master?" "Strong enough that Jedi and Sith might be categories that no longer apply." Drex's breathing apparatus clicked. "We are about to meet something the Force has never fully encountered. Be ready for anything." The golden vessel settled onto the platform with impossible grace, its landing gear deploying only at the last instant. The hull was seamless. No visible seams or viewports, just perfect golden surface, inscribed with mathematics that seemed to move when observed directly. A ramp extended. Light spilled forth, not harsh but luminous, the kind of radiance that holy texts described and artists failed to capture. And then he emerged. The God Emperor of mankind walked down the ramp in armor that caught Coruscant's sun and amplified it. He stood 3 meters tall in full regalia, proportioned perfectly, a work of art and engineering that made every organic being present suddenly conscious of their own fragility. His face was ageless, neither young nor old, bearing features that were distinctly human, yet somehow transcended humanity itself. But it was his eyes that captured attention, golden, luminous, containing depths that suggested they'd witnessed civilizations rise and fall, watched stars die and be reborn, calculated probability across timescales measured in millennia. He surveyed the assembly with those eyes, and every Force-sensitive present felt seen, not just observed but comprehended, categorized, understood at levels that violated the very concept of privacy. "Chancellor Vex," the Emperor's voice carried across the platform without technological amplification. "Grand Master Drex," assembled representatives of the Galactic Republic. He descended the final step, standing now on Coruscant soil. "I accept your invitation and bring greetings from realms beyond your knowing. I am called the Emperor, and I have come to understand what you have built here." Vex stepped forward, his prepared speech suddenly feeling inadequate. We welcome you to Coruscant. The Republic extends diplomatic courtesy to all peaceful visitors, regardless of origin. We hope this meeting will foster understanding between... Understanding is inevitable, Chancellor, the Emperor interrupted gently. The question is whether it will be mutual or unilateral, whether you will teach me about your civilization through conversation or through observation of its collapse. He smiled, and it was not unkind, just terrifyingly honest. I prefer conversation. It's more efficient. Behind Drex, Master Soren's hand moved toward his lightsaber. The Emperor's gaze flickered to him, and the Battlemaster froze not through force compulsion, but through the sudden, instinctive understanding that attacking would be suicide. Battlemaster Soren, the Emperor spoke directly to him despite them having never met. Your combat proficiency is impressive, 93rd percentile among your order. Your kill count against Darksiders is exemplary, but you're considering whether your skills could harm me, and the answer, regrettably, is no. I say this not to diminish you, but to prevent unnecessary sacrifice. His tone remained conversational. I've fought beings that existed partially outside physical reality. Your plasma blade, however elegant, would not reach me before I rendered you into constituent atoms. Please don't make me prove it. Soren's hand slowly moved away from his weapon. Better, the Emperor approved. Now then, shall we proceed to this Senate of yours? I'm curious to see democracy at scale. It's been quite some time since I've witnessed it functioning. Relatively successfully, Chancellor Vex exchanged glances with Grandmaster Drex. Neither of them had prepared for this for a being who spoke with absolute certainty while somehow remaining cordial. It was like negotiating with a natural disaster that had learned diplomacy. This way. Vex gestured toward the Senate building. The full assembly awaits your address. The Emperor nodded and began walking. The assembled Jedi and guards fell into formation around him, not escorting so much as accompanying, like planets orbiting a sun. As they moved through Coruscant's governmental district, the Emperor spoke to no one in particular. Impressive architecture, clean energy distribution, sophisticated logistics. He paused. Also, you have a Sith infiltration in your lower industrial sectors. Approximately 12 hostiles planning an attack during my address. Thermal signatures suggest ritual preparation. You might want to address that. The entire procession stopped. What? Kale asked, already activating his comm to contact Rin. The Sith, the Emperor repeated patiently. Dark side practitioners. Approximately 8 kilometers south-southwest, 300 meters below surface level. They're planning to assassinate your senators during my speech. Crude plan, but it would work if I wasn't here to detect it. He resumed walking. You're welcome. Drex and Kale exchanged rapid, silent communication through the Force. Rin's confirmation came seconds later. The Sith were exactly where the Emperor described. How did you? Vex began. I mapped your entire planet while descending, the Emperor explained casually. Population distribution, energy consumption, Force presence anomalies. The Sith's attempt at concealment is effective against your Jedi. Their techniques create a false negative in the Force. But I'm not reading the Force alone. I'm reading reality itself, and they very much exist in it. He glanced at Drex. You should dispatch your strike team now. They're beginning their ritual. You have approximately 43 minutes before the convergence becomes irreversible. Grandmaster Drex made the decision instantly. Master Kale, take Battlemaster Kira and Shadows, Rin and Tall. Neutralize the threat. Grandmaster, leaving you with... is necessary, Drex finished. Go. Kale and 3 others broke away, moving at Force-enhanced speed toward the industrial sector. The Emperor watched them go with approval. Decisive. Good. Your order has potential. He turned back to the Senate building, its massive structure looming ahead. Shall we continue? I believe I have philosophers to meet and senators to terrify with uncomfortable truths. As they entered the Senate chamber, watched by billions across the galaxy, none of the Republic's representatives could shake the feeling that they were witnessing something unprecedented. The age of the old Republic, stable, predictable, governed by ancient precedent, was ending. What would replace it remained to be seen, but one thing was certain. The God Emperor would have a say in that determination, whether they wanted him to or not. The Senate chamber had fallen into stunned silence. 10,000 platforms floated in perfect formation, each bearing senators whose careers had taught them to expect the unexpected, but nothing in their experience had prepared them for this. The God Emperor stood at the central podium, having declined the Chancellor's offer to be formally introduced. He simply walked to the speaking platform, and the entire chamber quieted as if reality itself had issued the command. Members of the Galactic Senate. His voice carried to every platform without amplification, each senator hearing it as if he stood directly beside them. I will be brief, because your time, however you choose to spend it, is valuable. I am called the Emperor. I have guided humanity through 40,000 years of history you do not share. 3 days ago, forces beyond my control transported me to your galaxy. Now I stand before you, and you must decide what I represent. He paused, golden eyes sweeping across the assembled thousands. Some of you believe I'm a threat. You're correct. I threaten inefficiency, bureaucratic paralysis, the comfortable fiction that democracy without direction produces optimal outcomes. Others believe I'm an opportunity, a powerful ally who might strengthen the Republic against external threats. You're also correct. I could make your civilization functionally invincible within a decade. Senator Krios's platform surged forward. And the cost? What would we sacrifice for this invincibility? Your illusions, the Emperor replied simply. The pretense that 10,000 voices debating produces better results than one voice that comprehends the variables. The fantasy that every culture's values are equally valid when some demonstrably lead to extinction. The delusion that you can maintain what you have without evolving what you are. That's tyranny. Another senator, a Rhodian from the Outer Rim, shouted from his platform, "No." The Emperor's voice remained calm. Tyranny is power exercised for personal benefit. What I offer is Imperium power exercised for species survival. The distinction matters. Chancellor Vex stepped forward, attempting to regain control of the session. The Republic was founded on principles of... A distant explosion shook the Senate building. Alarms blared. Security feeds flickered across displays, showing fire and chaos in the industrial sectors below. Then, just as suddenly, the alarms ceased. A transmission from Master Kale appeared on the Chancellor's personal screen. Sith threat neutralized. 12 hostiles captured. No civilian casualties. The Emperor hadn't moved, hadn't even glanced toward the disturbance. As I was saying, your principles are admirable. Your execution is lacking. That explosion was the Sith cell I detected. Your Jedi have now captured them, preventing what would have been a massacre. But here's what troubles me, Chancellor. Those Sith have been operating on Coruscant for 6 months. Your security never detected them. Your Jedi only found them because I pointed them out. The chamber erupted again. Senators demanding explanations, security chiefs activating emergency protocols, political opponents of the Chancellor seizing the moment to attack his competence. The Emperor waited 10 seconds, then raised one hand. The chamber fell silent, not through force manipulation, but through the sudden, overwhelming presence of will so absolute it made speech feel presumptuous. This is what concerns me, the Emperor continued, his tone almost gentle. You believe debate is strength. You've mistaken process for progress. While you argued about protocols, enemies embedded themselves in your capital. While you discussed proper procedure for my arrival, Sith prepared to murder hundreds. He lowered his hand. I don't say this to humiliate you. I say it because civilizations that cannot see their weaknesses are civilizations that die. And I have watched too many die to remain silent when I can prevent it. Senator Mira Hollis, the Corellian stateswoman, spoke with careful precision. You speak of prevention, but your methods, this Imperium you describe it, would eliminate our right to self-determination. The Republic exists because beings rejected the rule of monarchs and emperors. And yet you have a chancellor, the Emperor observed, a position that concentrates power. You've already accepted that pure democracy is unworkable at galactic scale. You've already compromised your principles for efficiency. I simply propose you commit to that compromise honestly. There's a difference between elected leadership and between what? Between a leader chosen by popularity and one chosen by competence. The Emperor's smile was sad. Senator, in my long existence, I've learned that populations rarely choose leaders who will make necessary but painful decisions. They choose leaders who promise comfort. And comfort, historically, precedes collapse. Before Hollis could respond, a new disturbance rippled through the chamber, not explosive, but purposeful. The Senate's diplomatic entrance opened, and a contingent marched in with military precision. Mandalorians, 20 of them, in full armor that bore the marks of countless battles. At their head walked a figure whose Beskar plates were inscribed with clan symbols dating back millennia. Mandalore the Preserver, supreme leader of the Mandalorian clans, a warrior whose legend rivaled the Jedi's greatest heroes. The Senate fell silent for a different reason now. Mandalorians rarely came to Coruscant, and never to the Senate chamber itself. Their presence here, unannounced, was either diplomatic miracle or harbinger of war. Mandalore the Preserver removed his helmet, a gesture of profound significance in Mandalorian culture, revealing the scarred face of a man who'd earned his title through combat and leadership in equal measure. God Emperor. His voice carried the accent of Concord dawn, rough but clear. I am Mandalore. I lead the warrior clans. I've come to hear your words myself, because my people have a saying, warriors recognize warriors, regardless of armor. He stepped closer to the central podium, ignoring Chancellor Vex's attempt to intercede. You arrived in our galaxy and immediately demonstrated power that dwarfs what we've seen. You speak of unity through strength. You've bested Jedi philosophy in their own chamber. He stopped 3 meters from the Emperor, close enough that guards tensed. Tell me, are you a warrior or merely a conqueror? The Emperor regarded him with something approaching respect. A warrior fights for purpose beyond himself. A conqueror fights for glory, for territory, for ego. Mandalore's scarred face was solemn. I've led my people for 30 years. I've made choices that haunt me, sacrificed clans for the survival of our culture, made alliances that violated traditions, chosen pragmatism over honor when extinction was the alternative. He met the Emperor's golden gaze directly. So I ask again, what are you? The silence stretched. Every senator, every guard, every being watching across the galaxy waited for the Emperor's response. I am what necessity creates, the Emperor finally said, and his voice carried weight that seemed to press against reality itself. I am the choice civilizations make when all alternatives lead to oblivion. I am the father who must be cruel to prevent his children's death. I am the burden of leadership that never ends, never rests, never receives gratitude, because gratitude requires understanding, and understanding requires perspective that spans millennia. He stepped down from the podium, moving toward Mandalore with deliberate slowness. I am a warrior who has fought battles across 40,000 years. I am a conqueror who has unified worlds to prevent their mutual destruction. I am both and neither, because those categories are inadequate to describe what becomes of a being who cannot die and cannot stop trying to save those who can. Mandalore studied him for a long moment. Then, shockingly, he knelt, one knee touching the Senate floor, his helmet placed before him. Then I, Mandalore the Preserver, offer you the allegiance of the warrior clans, not as subjects, but as Vode, brothers in arms who recognize a kindred spirit. The Senate exploded, senators shouting outrage, demanding explanation, calling for Mandalore to be arrested for treason. The Mandalorians behind their leader stood ready, hands on weapons, daring anyone to act on those demands. Chancellor Vex looked to Grand Master Drex, who stood with the other Jedi Masters at the chamber's perimeter. The ancient Jedi Master shook his head fractionally. Not yet. Let this play out. The Emperor looked down at the kneeling Mandalore. You offer allegiance knowing nothing of my specific plans. Why? Because my people are dying, Mandalore said bluntly. Slowly. Our culture erodes with each generation. The Republic tolerates us but fears us. The Jedi respect us but keep distance. We are warriors in a galaxy that increasingly has no place for warriors. He looked up. You speak of unity through purpose, of civilizations that evolve or perish. My clans need purpose beyond survival. If you can provide that, if you can give my people a reason to exist beyond raiding and dying, then yes, we will follow you, even if that purpose requires you to serve causes beyond Mandalorian glory. Glory is for songs, Mandalore replied. I care about my people's survival. If serving your vision preserves Mandalorian culture, then I'll serve it. If not... He stood, reclaiming his helmet. Then we'll die as we lived, but at least we'll have chosen our end. The Emperor extended his hand, not up, not down, but level, equal to equal. Mandalore grasped it. The Force trembled at the contact, as if two fundamental principles of the universe had just reached accord. Then hear my terms, the Emperor said, his voice now carrying to every corner of the chamber. The Mandalorian clans will be integrated into my eventual military structure, not as mercenaries, but as elite forces dedicated to galactic stability. Your culture will be preserved, your honor maintained, but your violence will be directed toward constructive ends. You will become what you were always meant to be, protectors, not raiders, builders of peace through strength of arms. And the Republic? Mandalore asked. Where do they fit in your vision? That, the Emperor turned back to the assembled senators, depends on their choice. The Mandalorians have chosen evolution. Your clans will survive because you recognized when adaptation was required. He released Mandalore's hand and addressed the Senate directly. Now the Republic must make the same choice. Evolve your governance to meet existential challenges, or maintain your democratic purity until external forces render it irrelevant. Senator Krios, who'd been silent since the Mandalorian entrance, finally spoke. You're asking us to surrender our sovereignty. I'm asking you to surrender your illusions, the Emperor corrected. Your sovereignty is already compromised. The Sith infiltrate your capital. The Hutt's control sectors you've ceded through administrative neglect. Separatist movements grow because your bureaucracy cannot address local needs efficiently. You are not as sovereign as you believe. Then what do you propose? Chancellor Vex asked, his voice heavy with the weight of political realities only he could fully appreciate. A merger, the Emperor stated simply. Not conquest, not subjugation. A formal integration of Republic democratic processes with imperial executive authority. You maintain your Senate, your voting, your cultural autonomy, but strategic decisions, military deployment, resource allocation, existential threats, these fall under singular authority that can act without debate when ours matter. Your authority, Krios said flatly, initially, until successors can be properly prepared. The Emperor's smile was cold. I understand your fear, Senator. You imagine I'll proclaim myself eternal ruler, establish a dynasty, concentrate power indefinitely. But I've seen empires rise and fall. I know that systems survive when institutions outlast individuals. What I propose is a hybrid democratic in expression, imperial in execution. The Republic's ideals focused through singular will. Grand Master Drex finally spoke, his aged voice carrying clarity through the Force. And the Jedi? Where do we stand in this vision? As you always have, the Emperor replied, turning to face the assembled masters. As guardians of peace, wielders of power who temper strength with wisdom. But I would ask you to reconsider your role. The Force is a tool, Grand Master, powerful, mysterious, profound, but ultimately a tool. You've made it a religion, which limits its utility. Under my guidance, Force sensitives would be trained as they should be, as warriors, diplomats, scientists, explorers. Your mysticism would become methodology. Your philosophy would become engineering. The Force is not merely a tool. Master Soren's voice cracked with indignation. It is the binding energy of the universe itself, the underlying quantum field that connects all matter and energy across space-time, the Emperor interrupted. Yes, I've already analyzed its fundamental properties. It's fascinating, more sophisticated than the psychic phenomena I'm familiar with, but operating on similar principles. With proper study and discipline, its applications could revolutionize your civilization. He paused. But that requires abandoning the notion that it has moral alignment. The Force is no more light or dark than gravity is good or evil. These are projections you've imposed upon neutral phenomena. The philosophical implications hung in the air like smoke after battle. Senator Hollis, ever pragmatic, cut through the metaphysics. Emperor, you speak eloquently about unity and evolution, but you've been in our galaxy for 3 days. How can you possibly understand the complexities of 10,000 worlds, millions of cultures, billions of individual needs? Because I've spent 40,000 years learning to understand such things, the Emperor replied. Because pattern recognition across civilizations is my singular talent. Because I've watched your HoloNet broadcasts, studied your historical records, analyzed your economic data, and mapped your political fault lines in the time it took your ships to reach Korriban. He gestured toward the chamber itself. This Senate contains 10,342 voting members, representing approximately 1.3 million inhabited systems. Your legislative efficiency is 0.003%, meaning only 3 in 1,000 proposals successfully navigate to implementation. You have 16 major separatist movements, 43 exploited slave populations, and 200+ systems under de facto criminal control. These are not opinions. These are metrics. The silence was deafening. You came prepared, Vex said quietly. I am always prepared, Chancellor. It's why I've survived when others haven't. The Emperor's expression softened fractionally. I don't tell you these things to humiliate the Republic. I tell you because time is limited. The Sith you captured tonight are remnants of a larger force, gathering in the unknown regions. Mandalore knows this. His scouts have reported movements. The Jedi know this. Your visions have shown you gathering darkness. You have perhaps 3 years before a conflict erupts that the Republic, in its current form, cannot win. And with your help? Mandalore asked. With integration and reform, the threat becomes manageable, possibly preventable. The Emperor's gaze swept across the entire chamber. This is not theoretical. This is not philosophy. This is applied probability based on observable facts. You can choose unity now, through negotiation and mutual agreement, or you'll be forced into it later through desperation and catastrophe. A new voice spoke, young, idealistic, belonging to a junior senator from Alderaan. And if we refuse both? If we choose to remain as we are, despite your warnings? The Emperor looked at the young senator with something that might have been sadness. Then I will witness another civilization make the same mistake that has destroyed thousands before you. I will watch your republic fragment, your ideals perish, your people suffer, and I will mourn you. He paused. But I will not save you. Because salvation offered repeatedly and refused eventually becomes insult to both parties. I will focus my efforts elsewhere, on beings who recognize opportunity when it manifests. The chamber fell into contemplative silence. Chancellor Vex made the only decision he could. The Senate will vote on your proposal, but such a fundamental change to our government requires time debate, analysis, cultural assessment across all member worlds. We cannot. You have one standard month, the Emperor stated. After that, I will take my offer to individual systems. Some will accept, others won't. The Republic will effectively fracture through voluntary choice rather than warfare. Less violent, but the outcome will be similar. He turned to leave, then paused. One last thing. You have Jedi and Mandalorians, but you also have millions of beings with potential you've never cultivated. Under my guidance, Force sensitivity becomes accessible training rather than genetic lottery. I can teach your scientists to replicate its effects, your soldiers to augment their capabilities, your physicians to heal what you currently consider incurable. He began walking toward the exit, Mandalore and his warriors falling into formation beside him. 1 month, Chancellor. Choose evolution or stagnation. Either way, the galaxy will continue. As the God Emperor departed, leaving the Senate in chaos, Grand Master Drex turned to his fellow council members. We need an emergency session. Immediately. Iles reported. Iles. To discuss the proposal? Master Vey asked. No, Drex replied quietly. To discuss whether we can actually stop him if the Republic refuses. The question hung unanswered, because every Jedi present already knew the truth. They couldn't. Not without sacrificing everything the Order stood for. Perhaps not even then. The Jedi Council chamber had never felt smaller. 12 masters sat in meditation posture, but their connection to the Force was turbulent, a reflection of the chaos consuming the galaxy in the 6 days since the Emperor's ultimatum. Across 10,000 worlds, the debate raged. Entire systems had already declared their intention to accept the Emperor's offer. Others threatened secession if the Republic capitulated. Protests erupted on Coruscant streets, half demanding the Senate accept evolution, half crying tyranny. The Holonets were ablaze with philosophers, military strategists, economists, all arguing about the future of civilization itself. And through it all, the Emperor waited in his golden ship, orbiting Coruscant like a patient predator. Grand Master Drex broke the meditation silence. We've delayed this discussion long enough. The question before us is simple, even if the answer is not. Can we allow this being to fundamentally reshape the Republic? The Republic is reshaping itself, Master Venzalo observed. 60 systems have formally petitioned to join the Emperor's proposed integration. That number grows hourly. We're not debating whether change happens, we're debating whether we oppose it. And if we oppose it, Master Soren's voice carried the edge of someone who'd already made his decision. We have to stop him before his influence becomes irreversible. Stop him how, exactly? Master Kira asked, her leku twitching with agitation. Did you miss the part where he detected Sith through methods we don't understand? Where his presence in the Force makes all of us feel like younglings? Where Mandalore, the single most pragmatic warrior in the galaxy, knelt before him? Power doesn't equal rightness, Soren countered. The Sith are powerful. The Sith are driven by passion and personal gain, Master Vey interjected. This Emperor is driven by something else. I've meditated on his presence constantly. There's no hate there, no fear, no anger, no attachment, but also no peace. It's like staring into a machine that thinks it's saving us, which makes him more dangerous, argued Master Tolvar. A Sith can be redeemed because passion can be redirected, but certainty, absolute conviction in one's righteousness, that's the foundation of every atrocity in history. Master Kale, who'd remained silent, finally spoke. I've reviewed every interaction report. The Emperor has been offered 3 assassination opportunities in the past week, one by Republic military hardliners, one by a criminal syndicate hoping to profit from chaos, one by the Sith we captured. He detected and neutralized all 3 without casualties. He could have responded with violence. Instead, he sent the would-be assassins medical care and education packets. Kale looked around the circle. "Tell me what Sith Lord does that." "A manipulative one," Soren said immediately. "Or one who genuinely believes in the supremacy of reason over retribution," Kale countered. Grandmaster Drex raised his hand for silence. "We're circling the central question. Master Soren has proposed a strike mobilizing our greatest warriors, staging a coordinated assault before the Senate vote. He believes we can eliminate the threat through martial action." Drex's ancient eyes swept the chamber. "Who agrees?" 4 hands rose. Soren, Master Rel, Master Odin, and surprisingly, young Master Kier, who'd previously defended the Emperor. "Master Kier?" Drex asked. "You argued for giving him a chance." "I did," Kier acknowledged. "And I've watched what that chance created. The Republic is fracturing, not through violence, but through choice. Systems are choosing him over us. That terrifies me more than any Sith invasion, because it means our philosophy, everything the Jedi have represented for millennia, is being democratically rejected." His voice cracked slightly. "If we can't win through persuasion, we have to win through action." "You're talking about murder," Master Vey said flatly. "I'm talking about preventing the end of the Republic." Kier shot back. Drex let the tension simmer before speaking again. "Those who oppose the strike?" 6 hands rose, leaving 2 abstaining. "The Jedi Order will not initiate violence against a being who has not attacked us," Drex declared. "This is not cowardice. This is adherence to our principles. We are peacekeepers, not executioners." "Then we're witnesses to our own irrelevance," Soren said bitterly. "Grandmaster, with respect, the Order has survived by adapting. We fought the Sith. We served the Republic military when necessary. We've compromised our peacekeeping principles countless times when reality demanded it, and each compromise weakened us," Drex replied. "Master Soren, you're proposing we become what we've always opposed, beings who kill to prevent possibilities rather than respond to actualities. The possibility is becoming inevitable. Then we'll respond when it does." Drex's voice carried force weight that silenced the chamber. "We will not strike first. We will not become Sith hiding behind Jedi robes." Soren stood, his face flushed with anger and frustration. "Then I request permission to resign from the council." The chamber froze. "Battle Master," Drex said carefully. "You understand what that means?" "I do. I'll remain a Jedi. I'll follow the code. But I won't sit here and watch us debate philosophy while the galaxy chooses a golden tyrant over the light." He looked at each master in turn. "Someone has to act. If the council won't, individuals must. You cannot engage him alone," Kael warned. "Soren, it's suicide. Perhaps. Or perhaps the Force has guided me to this moment for a reason." Soren moved toward the chamber exit. "I'm going to challenge him, formally. Single combat, witnessed by the Senate and broadcasters. If he's truly committed to reason over violence, he'll accept. If he refuses, we'll see what he really is." "And if he accepts and kills you?" Master Vey asked. Soren smiled grimly. "Then, at least the galaxy will see him bleed." The broadcast went live at noon Coruscant Standard Time. Battlemaster Soren, standing in the Senate arena, a massive amphitheater typically used for ceremonial duels, his lightsaber ignited, blue blade humming with contained energy. "God Emperor," his voice amplified across the arena, and to billions watching via holofeed. "You speak of unity through strength, of evolution through decisive action. I, Battlemaster Soren of the Jedi Order, challenge you to demonstrate that strength." Face me in single combat. If you win, I'll personally endorse your integration plan. If I win, he paused, you'll leave this galaxy and never return. The arena fell silent. Holocams focused on the Emperor's ship, still orbiting overhead. For 3 minutes, nothing happened. The tension built until it felt physical. Then the ship descended. It landed at the arena's edge, and the Emperor emerged not in full armor this time, but in simpler robes that somehow made him appear more dangerous. He walked across the arena floor with measured steps, stopping 20 meters from Soren. "Battlemaster," the Emperor's voice carried without amplification, "I've reviewed your combat record. You're exceptional. Perhaps the finest duelist the Jedi Order has produced in 3 generations. I respect your skill." He paused. "This challenge is unnecessary. We need not fight." "We do," Soren replied. "Because the galaxy needs to see what you truly are, philosopher or tyrant, leader or conqueror." He settled into a combat stance. "Face me with whatever powers you possess. Let's see if your certainty can survive a Jedi's determination." The Emperor sighed, and in that exhalation, every Force-sensitive watching felt genuine sadness. "Very well. I'll honor your challenge." He extended one hand, and golden energy began to coalesce. "But understand, Battlemaster, I take no joy in this. You're a warrior fighting for principles you hold sacred. That deserves respect, even as I'm forced to defeat you." Soren didn't respond with words. He moved. Form 7 Juyo, the most aggressive lightsaber form, forbidden to all but the most disciplined Jedi. His blade became a blur of blue light, strikes coming from impossible angles, each one targeting vital points with lethal precision. The Emperor stood motionless, and Soren's blade stopped mere centimeters from contact, not blocked, but simply prevented from advancing further, as if the space between them had become adamantine. Soren disengaged, shifted to Form 2 Makashi, the precision dueling form. He attacked with surgical strikes designed to overwhelm defensive positions through technical superiority. The result was identical. His blade couldn't reach the Emperor. "You're trying to breach a psychic barrier you can't perceive," the Emperor explained calmly. "Your lightsaber operates on one principle of physics. My defenses operate on another. They're fundamentally incompatible. Then I'll use the Force." Soren released his lightsaber, letting it hover through telekinesis while he channeled Force energy directly, a telekinetic push with enough power to shatter durasteel. The Emperor didn't move. The Force energy dissipated around him like water around a stone. "The Force flows through all things," the Emperor said, his tone educational despite the combat context. "But I'm not simply in the Force, Battlemaster. I exist adjacent to it, intersecting but not subsumed. Your techniques are masterful, but they're designed for opponents who play by your universe's rules." Soren felt desperation creeping in and immediately suppressed it. Desperation led to the dark side. He centered himself, reaching deep into the Force, drawing on reserves built through decades of meditation and training. "If conventional methods fail," Soren said, his voice steady despite the sweat beading on his forehead, "then I'll show you what the Force can truly accomplish when channeled with absolute commitment." He began to glow, literally glow, with Force energy. The ancient technique of Force valor, amplified beyond normal limits. His body became a conduit, his strikes accelerated to hypersonic speeds, his telekinetic attacks layered in waves designed to overwhelm through sheer volume. The arena floor cracked beneath his movements. His lightsaber screamed through the air. Force lightning, forbidden but necessary, crackled from his fingertips alongside traditional attacks. And still, the Emperor stood untouched. "Impressive," the Emperor said, and he meant it. "You're burning through your life force to fuel this assault. You'll die if you continue. Then I'll die as a Jedi." Soren roared, pushing harder, faster, drawing on the force until his very cells began to break down from the strain. The Emperor's expression shifted from patience to sorrow. Enough. The single word carried weight, not force compulsion, but reality itself, declaring the fight concluded. Soren's lightsaber deactivated mid-strike. His force connection wavered. He collapsed to one knee, gasping, body failing from the massive energy expenditure. The Emperor walked forward slowly, kneeling beside the fallen Jedi. He placed one hand on Soren's shoulder, and golden energy flowed, not attacking, but healing. The cellular damage reversed. The life force stabilized. "You fought with honor," the Emperor said quietly, his voice carrying only to Soren despite billions watching. "You fought for principles greater than yourself. That's worthy of respect, Battlemaster. But it's also why you lost." "Why?" Soren managed through ragged breathing. "Because you're fighting for abstract principles. I'm fighting for survival, mine, humanity's, this galaxy's. And survival demands efficiency that honor sometimes prohibits." The Emperor helped Soren to his feet, supporting the Jedi's weight. "You're a magnificent warrior, but warriors without clear objectives are just violence waiting for direction." He turned to address the arena and the cameras broadcasting across the galaxy. "Let this demonstration answer questions that words cannot. I did not initiate this combat. A Jedi Master attacked me with lethal intent, and I responded without killing him. I could have ended his life in the first second. I chose not to. This is the difference between tyranny and leadership. A tyrant would have made an example through execution. A leader demonstrates strength through restraint." He released Soren, who stood shakily but under his own power. The Jedi represent noble ideals poorly adapted to modern challenges. Mandalorians represent martial excellence, lacking strategic vision. The Senate represents democratic process paralyzed by its own mechanisms. The Emperor's voice carried absolute certainty. "Separately, you're inadequate to the threats you'll face. Together, under unified direction, you become something unprecedented, a civilization that combines philosophical wisdom, warrior discipline, and collective representation." He paused, letting the words settle across 10,000 worlds. "The vote occurs in 3 days. Choose evolution. Choose survival. Choose to become what you have the potential to be." His golden eyes swept across the arena. "Or choose the comfort of familiar failure. Either way, I've demonstrated what I am, a being committed to your survival, whether you desire it or not." The Emperor returned to his ship without another word. Soren remained in the arena, standing but defeated, watching the golden vessel ascend. Grand Master Drex, watching from the Jedi Temple, closed his eyes in meditation. "What did we just witness?" Master Kale asked. "The end," Drex replied quietly. "The beginning." "Of what?" "Of the Republic as we knew it, of the Jedi's authority, of the old certainties that guided us for millennia." The ancient Jedi opened his eyes. He just demonstrated that our greatest warrior couldn't touch him, that our most advanced techniques are irrelevant to his capabilities, that mercy for him is a choice rather than a limitation. "So we surrender?" Master Vay's voice carried disbelief. "No," Drex said. "We adapt, as we always have, as he's been telling us to do." He stood slowly, leaning heavily on his staff. "Call an emergency session. Full council and all available masters. We need to discuss what the Jedi Order becomes in a galaxy where our power is insufficient, but our wisdom might still matter." The council dispersed, each master carrying the weight of obsolescence. In the Senate, Chancellor Vex received the latest polling data. 73% of systems now favored integration. The Emperor's demonstration of restrained power had accomplished what his words could not. It showed beings that strength without cruelty was possible. In 3 days, the Republic would vote. Everyone already knew the outcome. The only question remaining was whether the transition would be peaceful, or whether those who couldn't accept evolution would choose extinction instead. The Senate vote was scheduled for dawn, but dawn on Coruscant never truly came. The planet-wide city generated its own perpetual twilight, artificial lights creating the illusion of day, while shadows deeper than night lurked in the lower levels. In those shadows, Darth Vesh prepared his final gambit. The captured Sith cell had been a diversion, 12 expendable acolytes meant to draw Jedi attention while the true operation unfolded. Vesh stood now in a chamber carved from ancient stone, 500 meters beneath the Senate building, surrounded by artifacts that predated the Republic itself. "The ritual is ready, Master," Darth Severa reported, her voice echoing in the cavernous space. Around them, 20 Sith acolytes maintained a circular formation, their combined dark side energy creating a vortex that made the Force itself scream in protest. "The Emperor believes he understands our galaxy," Vesh murmured, running his fingers across a Sith holocron that pulsed with malevolent energy. "He's mapped our planets, studied our politics, analyzed our Force traditions. But he hasn't grasped what the dark side truly represents, not a tool, not energy, but hunger itself. The universe's desire to consume, to end, to reduce complexity to silence. And you believe this ritual can channel that hunger against him?" Severa asked carefully. "I believe the Force has limitations he doesn't comprehend. He exists adjacent to it, yes, but that means he's vulnerable to phenomena that operate through Force mechanics." Vesh activated the holocron, and the image of an ancient Sith Lord materialized. Darth Nihilus, the Lord of Hunger who had consumed entire planets through the Force. "His technique," Vesh continued, "was considered too dangerous even by Sith standards. It turned the Force into a weapon that fed on life itself, growing stronger with each death until even its wielder was consumed. The Jedi destroyed all records of it, the Sith preserved them." His smile behind the mask was predatory. "When the Senate convenes in 6 hours, when every senator and every Jedi Master is gathered in one location, we'll activate the convergence. The Force will become a wound, a tear in reality, that consumes everything Force-sensitive within a kilometer radius." "That includes us, Master," one acolyte pointed out nervously. "Yes," Vesh acknowledged simply. "We die. But so do the Jedi Council, most of the Senate, and if the Force is merciful, this Golden Emperor who threatens Sith resurgence. The galaxy descends into chaos. And from that chaos, the true Sith Empire emerges from the unknown regions, led by Dark Lords who understand that power requires sacrifice." Severa felt cold realization settle over her. "This is a suicide mission. This is purpose," Vesh corrected. "We are not the Sith who will rule. We are the blade that clears the path. Remember, the rule of two was abandoned precisely because sometimes the Sith need disposable weapons." He turned to face his assembled followers. "You were chosen because you're faithful but ultimately expendable. Your deaths will be remembered in Sith holocrons as the martyrs who destroyed the old order." "And if the Emperor survives?" Severa asked. "Then we've learned he's vulnerable to Force-based attacks, and the next attempt will be better informed." Vesh moved to the ritual center, where Sith runes had been carved into the stone with blood and acid. "Begin the preparation sequence. In 6 hours, we reshape the galaxy." The acolytes began their chanting, dark side energy spiraling upward through the Senate building's foundations like poison climbing a vine. 500 meters above, in the Jedi Temple, Shadow Rin delivered her report to an emergency gathering of Masters. "I've tracked Darth Vesh's movements for 8 days. He's not planning an escape. His resource expenditure suggests a terminal operation. He's spending everything because he doesn't expect to need anything afterward." She projected a holographic map showing the chamber beneath the Senate. Seismic sensors detected excavation 6 weeks ago. We dismissed it as maintenance. It wasn't. Grand Master Drex studied the map with ancient eyes. A ritual chamber, directly beneath the Senate floor. His breathing apparatus clicked rapidly, the Keldor equivalent of a sharp intake of breath. What kind of ritual requires such positioning? Nothing in the archives, Venzalo said, but his voice carried uncertainty. However, there are references to techniques removed from archives, forbidden Sith knowledge deemed too dangerous to preserve. One involved using the Force itself as a weapon, turning it into a consuming void. Darth Nihilus, Master Kale said quietly. The Lord of Hunger. I've read the restricted sections. He met Drex's gaze. If they're attempting that technique, everyone Force-sensitive in the area will be drained, their life force consumed to feed the ritual. It's not an attack, it's annihilation. Can we stop it? Drex asked. Not conventionally. The ritual, once begun, sustains itself through the deaths it causes. Each Force-sensitive it consumes makes it stronger. Attempting to counter it with the Force would just feed it more energy. Kale paused. We'd need to either evacuate everyone impossible with 6 hours' notice or disrupt it before it activates. Send a strike team, Master Sorin suggested, still recovering from his duel but insistent on participation. 20 Jedi, full combat deployment. We breach the chamber and kill the ritualists before they trigger it prematurely and kill you all, Master Vey interrupted. That's exactly what they'd want. They're fanatics on a suicide mission. They'd welcome the opportunity to take Jedi Masters with them. The chamber fell into tense silence, 12 Masters contemplating an impossible scenario. Then Grand Master Drex did something unprecedented. He activated the emergency holo communicator, the direct line to the God Emperor's ship. The golden figure materialized, his expression curious rather than surprised. Grand Master, I was wondering when you'd contact me. You knew about the ritual, Drex stated flatly. I detected unusual Force convergence patterns 3 days ago. I've been monitoring them. The Emperor's tone was matter-of-fact. 21 Sith in a geometric formation, channeling energy through ancient focal points. It's quite sophisticated. Whoever designed it understood the Force's underlying quantum mechanics better than your contemporary practitioners. And you said nothing? Kale asked, shock evident in his voice. I said nothing because I wanted to see how you'd respond, whether you'd detect it yourselves, whether you'd request my assistance or attempt to handle it independently. The Emperor smiled slightly. You chose the former, which demonstrates promising pragmatism. Can you stop it? Drex asked simply. Define stop. Prevent the ritual from activating. Preserve the lives of those gathered for the Senate vote. The Emperor considered. Yes, but it requires methods you'll find uncomfortable. I'll need to interface directly with the Force convergence and essentially unmake the ritual from within. That means temporarily disrupting the Force in a significant portion of Coruscant. Every Jedi will feel disconnected, possibly for hours. It will be deeply disturbing for beings who've relied on that connection their entire lives. Better than death, Sorin muttered. Is it? The Emperor's question carried philosophical weight. For some Force sensitives, the loss of that connection, even temporarily, is more traumatic than physical death. But yes, from a pure survival perspective, my intervention is preferable to the alternative. What do you require from us? Drex asked. Permission. Explicit, witnessed permission from the Jedi High Council for me to manipulate the Force in ways that violate every principle you hold sacred. Because, Grand Master, once I demonstrate this capability, you'll understand exactly how outmatched you are, and that knowledge will fundamentally change your Order's self-perception. The Masters exchanged glances. The trap was obvious: accept his help and admit Jedi inadequacy, or refuse and allow thousands to die through principle. "We grant permission," Drex said, his voice heavy with the weight of necessity. "Prevent the deaths. We'll deal with the philosophical consequences afterward," the Emperor nodded. "Wise. I'll begin in 1 hour. Keep your Jedi clear of the Senate building. What I'm about to do will be memorable." The hologram flickered out. Master Vey turned to Drex. "You just gave him authority over the Force itself." "I gave him permission to save lives," Drex corrected. "The Force will judge whether that was wisdom or folly." 58 minutes later, the God Emperor descended from his ship in full ceremonial armor, landing directly atop the Senate building. He stood at its apex, golden against Coruscant's artificial twilight, and extended his consciousness downward, through stone and steel, through the layers of civilization built upon civilization, through the Force itself. He found the Sith ritual chamber. Darth Vesh felt the intrusion instantly. "He's here. Trigger the ritual now." The acolytes accelerated their chanting, dark side energy spiraling toward critical mass. The Force began to tear, reality itself preparing to wound. And then the God Emperor acted. Every Force-sensitive being on Coruscant felt it simultaneously, a sensation like the universe holding its breath. The Force didn't disappear. It stepped back, as if something had gently but irresistibly asked it to pause. In the ritual chamber, the dark side energy simply stopped. Not countered, not overcome, just politely, but absolutely prevented from continuing. It was like trying to punch in a dream, muscles straining against resistance that had no physical form. "No," Vesh whispered, disbelief cracking his voice. "No, this is impossible. The Force cannot be the Force." The Emperor's voice echoed through the chamber despite his physical distance. "Is a fundamental energy field of your reality. But fundamental doesn't mean supreme. I exist with authority over similar forces in my own universe. Extending that authority here required study, but not as much as you'd think." Above, on the Senate building's roof, the Emperor knelt and placed both palms against the structure. Golden light erupted from the contact point, spreading like neural pathways through the building's entire foundation. In the chamber below, the Sith watched in horror as their ritual simply unmade itself, the carved runes smoothing back into unmarked stone, the dark side artifacts reverting to inert matter, the Force convergence dispersing like smoke. "You're unwriting reality," Sevra breathed, unable to contain her awe and terror. "I'm correcting a probability error," the Emperor replied, his voice now directly inside their minds. "Your ritual assumed the Force operates independently of conscious will. It doesn't. It responds to sufficiently powerful direction. You just never encountered will powerful enough to supersede your combined efforts." Vesh ignited his lightsaber in futile defiance. "We are Sith. We do not. You do not survive," the Emperor interrupted. "Not because I'll kill you, I won't, but because I'm going to do something far worse. I'm going to show you what the dark side actually is when stripped of mysticism and religious indoctrination." The chamber's darkness lifted. Not metaphorically, the dark side energy that had saturated the space for weeks simply evaporated like fog before dawn, and in its absence the Sith felt nothing. Not peace, not light side connection, just absence. The power they'd drawn upon for years, the hatred and fear that fueled their abilities, suddenly revealed as optional rather than essential. "The dark side is neurological conditioning," the Emperor explained, his voice carrying educational patience. "Emotional states that produce specific brain chemistry which interacts with Force sensitivity in measurable ways. You've mistaken conditioned response for cosmic truth. You've made slavery to passion your religion." Vesh collapsed, his entire worldview fracturing. Around him, acolytes fell to their knees, some weeping, others catatonic as decades of Sith training revealed itself as elaborate self-deception. Only Sevra remained standing, her mind sharp enough to grasp what had occurred. You've shown us that everything we believed was a lie. Not a lie, the Emperor corrected gently. A misunderstanding. The Force is real, your power was real, but the philosophy you built around it, light versus dark, Jedi versus Sith, that was narrative imposed on neutral phenomena. You could have been powerful Force users dedicated to survival through pragmatic strength. Instead, you became slaves to ideology, convinced that hatred made you strong when it simply made you predictable. He materialized in the chamber, not walking down, simply appearing, stepping through space as if distance was a suggestion rather than a law. I'm going to give you a choice, he said, addressing all 21 Sith. Darth Vesh, you're too damaged by ideology to be salvaged. You'll spend your remaining years in comfortable confinement, writing about your experiences, so future Force sensitives understand the dangers of religious extremism. He turned to Sevra. You, however, demonstrated intellectual flexibility when confronted with paradigm shift. I can use that. Renounce your Sith identity. Commit to retraining under my supervision, and you'll become one of the first graduates of what I'm calling the Imperial Force Academy, an institution that teaches Force manipulation without religious dogma. Sevra met his golden gaze. She should have felt anger, defiance, the dark side rage that had sustained her through years of Sith training. Instead, she felt only curiosity about what she might become without those limitations. I accept, she said quietly. Vesh screamed a sound of pure anguish and betrayal. You were my apprentice. You cannot. I was your slave, Sevra corrected, her voice cold with newfound clarity. Enslaved to a philosophy that promised power while delivering only obsession. The Emperor has done what you never could. He's shown me what actual freedom looks like. The Emperor nodded approvingly. The rest of you will be offered similar choices, assessed individually. Those who can adapt will be retrained. Those who cannot will be humanely contained. He turned toward the chamber's exit, where a Republic security team was now descending, alerted by Jedi shadows. Consider this a proof of concept. Force-sensitive beings need not be divided into light and dark. They need only be trained in discipline, application, and ethical frameworks that serve species survival rather than cosmic dualism. As security forces secured the Sith prisoners, the Emperor ascended back to street level, where Grand Master Drex and the full Jedi Council waited. It's done, the Emperor announced. The ritual is dismantled. The Sith are captured. No casualties among those you sought to protect. And the Force? Drex asked, feeling its presence slowly returning to normal perception. Intact, slightly reorganized at a quantum level, but your connection remains functional. The Emperor's smile was tired, though I suspect every Force-sensitive on this planet now understands viscerally that the Force can be commanded as well as served. That knowledge will change your order, Grand Master, permanently. Drex nodded slowly. You've demonstrated we're obsolete. No, the Emperor corrected. I've demonstrated you're insufficient in your current form. That's not the same thing. Philosophers remain valuable even when they can't personally prevent disasters, but they must accept that philosophy alone doesn't guarantee survival. And the Senate vote? Master Kale asked. We'll proceed as scheduled in 2 hours. I've already submitted my final proposal, a constitutional amendment rather than full integration. The Republic retains democratic sovereignty, but cedes emergency powers to an imperial executive during existential threats. A compromise between your ideals and practical necessity, which you'll control, Sorin said, though his tone lacked accusation. Initially. Then I'll train successors beings who understand both democratic values and decisive action, who can serve the people without being paralyzed by their indecision. The Emperor looked at each Jedi Master in turn. This was never about conquest. It was about ensuring this galaxy survives what's coming. What is coming? Drex asked. I don't know specifically, the Emperor admitted. But I've lived long enough to recognize patterns. Societies that refuse to evolve face external pressures that force evolution or extinction. Your republic was approaching that threshold. I've simply accelerated your response timeline. He turned to leave, then paused. One final thing, Grand Master. The Jedi Order will be offered integration into the Imperial Force Academy as instructors, not students. Your wisdom, your ethical frameworks, your meditation techniques, all of it remains valuable, but it will be taught alongside Sith passion, Mandalorian discipline, and my own methodologies. Force sensitives will learn to synthesize rather than dogmatically adhere to single traditions. And if the Jedi refuse? Master Vey asked. Then you'll slowly become irrelevant as the next generation of Force users surpasses you through more comprehensive training. The Emperor's golden eyes softened. I don't say that with cruelty, Master. I say it with the sadness of someone who's watched countless noble traditions fade into history because they couldn't adapt to changing circumstances. As he departed toward the Senate building, the assembled Jedi stood in silence, contemplating the end of an age. He's not wrong, Kale finally said. About any of it. That, Drex replied quietly, is what makes this so difficult. If he were a simple tyrant, opposition would be easy. But he's something far more challenging, a tyrant who might actually be right. The Jedi dispersed to prepare for the vote, each carrying the weight of choices that would echo through generations. In 2 hours, the Republic would decide its future. The God Emperor had already ensured there was only one rational choice, but he'd given them the illusion of agency. Perhaps that, more than anything, demonstrated his understanding of human nature. The Senate chamber had never been more crowded. Every platform was occupied, every senator present, even those who typically sent proxies. The holocam feeds carried the proceedings to 17 billion viewers across the Republic's core worlds, with trillions more watching on delayed transmission throughout the galaxy. Chancellor Vex stood at the central podium, his aged face betraying the exhaustion of a man who'd slept perhaps 6 hours in the past 5 days. Behind him, projected on the massive chamber displays, was the constitutional amendment that would reshape civilization, the Imperial Compact, a framework for emergency governance and strategic unity within the Galactic Republic. The text was surprisingly modest, 23 pages, where most expected hundreds. It preserved the Senate's legislative authority, maintained planetary autonomy, guaranteed cultural freedoms, but embedded within its clauses was a fundamental shift: the creation of an imperial executive position with authority to supersede democratic process during designated crisis scenarios. And the Emperor had already been nominated unanimously by a coalition that included former opponents to serve as the first holder of that position. Senators, Vex began, his voice steady despite the moment's weight. We vote today not on whether to surrender our republic, but whether to evolve it. The God Emperor has demonstrated capabilities we cannot match. He has prevented catastrophes we could not foresee. He has offered us partnership rather than domination. Vex paused, letting that sink in. But he has also made clear that our participation is optional. Systems will choose integration individually if we refuse collectively. So the question before us is simple. Do we guide this transformation, or do we watch it happen to us? Senator Krios was the first to speak, his platform moving aggressively toward the center. Chancellor, your words dress up capitulation as pragmatism. This being arrives uninvited, demonstrates overwhelming force, and now we're expected to simply accept his authority because the alternative is fragmentation? That's not choice, that's coercion disguised as diplomacy. Applause erupted from roughly a third of the chamber, the traditionalist bloc that had opposed integration from the beginning. But Senator Hollis of Corellia countered immediately. Senator Krios, your analysis ignores reality. 68 systems have already declared intent to accept Imperial oversight, regardless of Senate vote. The Mandalorian clans have pledged allegiance. Half the Jedi Council advocates cooperation. This transformation is happening. Our vote determines only whether we participate in shaping it or sulk on the sidelines, while history moves forward without us. History moved forward with the rise of countless dictators. Krios shot back. Should we have participated in those transformations too? This emperor prevented a Sith attack that would have killed thousands, shouted Senator Mira of Onderon. He healed the Jedi who challenged him rather than executing him. He's offered us constitutional guarantees rather than simple conquest. If this is tyranny, it's the most benevolent tyranny in galactic history. The debate dissolved into chaos, hundreds of senators shouting simultaneously, platforms jockeying for position, political alliances fracturing in real time. Vex attempted to restore order through procedure, but the moment had exceeded parliamentary control. Then the Emperor himself entered the chamber. He didn't use the diplomatic entrance. He simply appeared on an empty platform near the chamber's apex space, folding around him in a way that made several senators gasp. He wore simpler robes now, his armor set aside, presenting himself as petitioner rather than conqueror. Senators, his voice cut through the chaos like a blade through fog. I have listened to your debates. I have heard your fears, your hopes, your objections, and I understand them all. He gestured toward the chamber itself. This institution represents something precious, the belief that collective wisdom surpasses individual brilliance, that diverse voices create better outcomes than singular vision. It's a beautiful ideal. He paused, golden eyes sweeping across 10,000 faces. It's also demonstrably insufficient for the challenges you face. Not because democracy is flawed in principle, but because your implementation has become more concerned with process than results. You've built a system so complex that action requires consensus among beings who will never agree. And while you debate, threats manifest, opportunities vanish, and civilizations die waiting for you to decide. Then what would you have us do? Asked a young senator from Alderaan, her voice carrying genuine curiosity rather than hostility. Abandon the Republic's founding principles? Embrace autocracy because efficiency seems attractive? No, the Emperor replied, his tone softening. I would have you recognize that principles and pragmatism need not be enemies. That democracy can coexist with decisive leadership if you're willing to define boundaries clearly. This compact I've proposed, it doesn't eliminate your authority, it supplements it. Think of me as emergency override protocols for your civilization. I activate only when normal systems fail. And who decides when they've failed? Krios demanded. You? Initially, yes, because I possess the capacity to assess threat levels your institutions cannot. But the compact includes sunset clauses, review periods where the Senate can revoke my authority if I abuse it, transparency requirements where I must justify every emergency action, appeal processes where systems can challenge my decisions. The Emperor's smile was knowing. I'm offering you autocracy with constitutional constraints, dictatorship with democratic oversight. It's not perfect, but it's better than either pure democracy or pure autocracy alone. Grand Master Drex, seated with the Jedi delegation in a special observer platform, rose slowly. Emperor, you speak of oversight and constraints, but we've seen your power. What prevents you from simply ignoring those constraints when they become inconvenient? Nothing, the Emperor admitted bluntly, and the chamber fell silent at his honesty. If I wished to rule as absolute tyrant, I could simply declare it. I don't need your consent. I don't require your constitutional frameworks. I could dominate this galaxy through force and maintain that domination indefinitely. He let that terrifying truth settle. So ask yourselves, why haven't I? Why have I spent 2 weeks negotiating, debating, requesting your cooperation? Why preserve your Senate at all if I could rule alone? Legitimacy, Senator Hollis said quietly, understanding dawning. You need us to choose this. Because rule by consent creates stability that rule by force never achieves. Partially correct, the Emperor acknowledged. But there's more. I've spent 40,000 years leading civilizations. I've learned that beings who participate in their own governance, even limited participation, are happier, more productive, and less likely to rebel than those ruled through pure domination. I'm not preserving your democracy out of altruism. I'm preserving it because it makes my job easier. He smiled at the brutal honesty. Satisfied populations require less enforcement. Self-directed cultures produce more innovation. Democracy, properly constrained, is simply efficient at scale. So we're tools, Krios said bitterly. Means to your efficiency. Every leader treats their population as tools, the Emperor countered. The question is whether you're tools that are valued, maintained, and given meaningful roles, or tools that are exploited until they break. I'm offering the former because I've seen what the latter produces: revolution, collapse, civilizational death. I've mourned too many fallen empires to repeat their mistakes. A new voice spoke, Mandalore the Preserver, standing in the Mandalorian delegation platform. Senators, the Emperor speaks truth about efficiency and survival, but he also speaks truth about partnership. He's offered my clan's purpose beyond raiding, structure beyond chaos. He's made Mandalorians relevant again in ways your Republic never attempted. If a being who could dominate us chooses instead to direct us toward constructive ends, is that tyranny or leadership? It's leadership that could become tyranny. Krios persisted, though his support was clearly eroding. Then include stronger safeguards, the Emperor suggested. Amend my proposal, add oversight mechanisms, create checks and balances you believe will constrain me. I'll accept reasonable modifications because the goal isn't unconstrained power, it's functional governance. He spread his hands in a gesture of openness. This is negotiations, Senator. I've offered terms. Counter-propose. Let's craft something we can both live with. The chamber stirred. This was unexpected, a self-proclaimed emperor willing to negotiate the terms of his own authority. Chancellor Vex seized the moment. The Emperor has opened discussion for amendments. I'm suspending formal vote until we've explored modifications. Committee chairs, convene your caucuses. We reconvene in 4 hours with proposed changes. In those 4 hours, the Senate transformed into something it hadn't been in decades: productive. Committees met, deals were struck, compromises emerged. The Emperor participated directly, accepting some restrictions while pushing back on others, explaining his reasoning with patience that surprised even his harshest critics. When the Senate reconvened, the amended compact included biannual review of imperial authority by a special committee with power to suspend emergency powers, mandatory transparency reports detailing every action taken under imperial authority, appeals courts where systems could challenge imperial decisions, sunset clause requiring full reauthorization every decade, limitation of scope to military, security, and existential threat scenarios, no authority over cultural or economic policy. It's still too much power, Senator Krios objected when the final version was presented. It's exactly enough power, the Emperor countered. Less than this, and I'm ineffective when crises demand immediate action. More than this, and I become the tyrant you fear. This is the equilibrium point between safety and liberty. Chancellor Vex called for the vote. The chamber fell silent as platforms lit with their decisions green for approval, red for rejection, amber for abstention. The tally appeared on the central display. Approved, 7,841. Rejected, 2,143. Abstained, 358. 76% approval, far more than the required supermajority. The Galactic Republic, 25,000 years old, built on the ashes of the Infinite Empire, survivor of the Great Hyperspace War, the Jedi Civil War, countless Sith incursions had just voted to fundamentally transform itself. Chancellor Vex's voice was hoarse as he spoke. By authority vested in this Senate, the Imperial Compact is hereby ratified. The office of Imperial Executive is created, and the God Emperor of mankind is confirmed as its first holder. May the Force guide us through what comes next. The Emperor stood, and for the first time since arriving, he bowed slightly, but unmistakably toward the assembled Senate. You've chosen evolution over stagnation, partnership over isolation, practical survival over ideological purity. His voice carried neither triumph nor gloating, just acknowledgement. What we build together in the coming years will determine whether this decision was wisdom or folly. I intend to ensure it's remembered as the former. He vanished as he'd arrived, space folding around him, leaving the Senate to process what they'd just done. In the Jedi Temple, Grand Master Drex convened the Council one final time in its traditional formation. The galaxy has changed, he said simply. The question before us is whether the Jedi Order changes with it. We accept his offer, Master Kale said. We integrate into the Imperial Force Academy as instructors. We teach our philosophy alongside others, and trust that wisdom will be recognized even in diverse contexts. We're abandoning millennia of Jedi independence, Master Soren protested, though his voice carried less conviction than before. We're accepting reality, Master Vey countered. The Emperor demonstrated that our power is limited. Our philosophy remains valuable, but only if we're willing to share it rather than hoard it. Integration means Jedi wisdom influences the next generation of Force users. Isolation means we become irrelevant historical curiosities. The vote was close, 7 in favor of integration, 5 opposed. Then it's decided, Drex announced. The Jedi Order accepts partnership with the Imperial structure. We maintain our temple, our code, our traditions, but we acknowledge we're one tradition among many, rather than the sole guardians of Force knowledge. Master Soren stood to leave, but paused at the chamber's exit. Grand Master, are we sure this isn't just the slow death of everything we've stood for? No, Drex admitted. We're not sure at all. But I'd rather risk transformation than guarantee extinction through stubborn pride. The Force will guide us through what comes next, or it won't, and we'll learn that even the Force has limits. Across the galaxy, the transformation began. On Mandalore, clans reorganized under Imperial military structure while maintaining their warrior culture. They became rapid response forces, explorers of unknown regions, protectors of frontier worlds. Their violence, once chaotic, became directed. On Coruscant, construction began on the Imperial Force Academy, a structure that dwarfed the Jedi Temple, designed to train thousands of Force sensitives simultaneously in synthesized techniques drawn from Jedi, Sith, Mandalorian, and the Emperor's own knowledge. Former Sith apprentice Sevra became one of the first instructors, teaching applied Force manipulation without religious dogma, a course that scandalized traditional Jedi and attracted massive student interest. Republic military structures were streamlined, bureaucratic redundancies eliminated. Systems that had operated independently for millennia suddenly found their defensive capabilities integrated into galaxy-wide coordination networks. It wasn't seamless. Protests erupted on a dozen worlds. 3 systems attempted to secede rather than accept Imperial oversight. The Emperor let them, but also let it be known they'd receive no protection from external threats. 2 returned to the fold within months. The third was destroyed by pirates and served as stark example of what happened to those who chose ideology over survival. Within 6 months, piracy in Republic space declined by 70%. Hutt cartel influence shrank as Imperial forces dismantled their operations with ruthless efficiency. Sith remnants in the unknown regions found their movements predicted, their plans disrupted, their recruiting networks destroyed before they could metastasize. The Emperor kept every promise in the compact. His transparency reports were exhaustive, so detailed that Senate committees struggled to process the information. He appeared before oversight committees quarterly, answered questions with patient precision, accepted criticism without retaliation, and slowly, grudgingly, even his harshest critics began to acknowledge that the galaxy was becoming more stable, more prosperous, more functional than it had been in living memory. 1 year after the vote, Senator Krios requested private audience with the Emperor. They met in a chamber overlooking Coruscant's endless cityscape, just 2 beings discussing civilization's trajectory. "I opposed you," Krios said bluntly. "I called you tyrant, warned the galaxy about your intentions, fought your compact at every turn." "You did," the Emperor acknowledged, "and your opposition was valuable. It forced me to justify my actions, to compromise on elements I might have imposed unilaterally. You made me a better leader through your resistance." Krios blinked, surprised. "You're not angry? Why would I be? You represented legitimate concerns. Your fears about concentrated power are valid. They're fears I share. Senator, the difference is that I believe the risk of tyranny is preferable to the certainty of collapse through paralysis. But I need opponents like you to ensure I never stop questioning that calculation." "Then you don't expect worship," Krios said slowly. "You don't want unquestioning obedience. Gods want worship," the Emperor replied. "Leaders want competent subordinates who challenge assumptions and prevent errors. I am not a god, Senator. I'm simply a being with more experience and capability than most. That deserves respect, perhaps, but not deification." Krios looked out at the city, processing. "The galaxy is changing faster than I can track. Sometimes I don't recognize it anymore. Change is painful," the Emperor said gently, "especially when it challenges everything you thought you knew. But ask yourself, are beings happier, safer, more hopeful about the future? If the answer is yes, then perhaps the change, however painful, was necessary." Krios didn't respond immediately. Finally, "I'm not ready to say you were right, but I'm willing to admit I might have been wrong about your intentions." "That's enough," the Emperor said. "Certainty is overrated, Senator. Willingness to reconsider is what separates wisdom from dogma." As Krios departed, the Emperor remained at the window, watching Coruscant's endless flow of life. Behind him, unseen, Grandmaster Drex materialized from Force-assisted stealth, a test to see if the Emperor would detect his approach. "Your infiltration skills are excellent, Grandmaster," the Emperor said without turning. "But you still displace air molecules in detectable patterns. Next time, try adjusting for thermal differentials as well." Drex smiled behind his breathing mask and stepped into view. "You're teaching me to be a better infiltrator." "Why? Because better Jedi make better partners," the Emperor replied. "And because I've learned that beings who feel perpetually outmatched become either resentful or dependent. I prefer colleagues who can challenge me intellectually and occasionally surprise me operationally." "Is this galaxy safe now?" Drex asked. "Truly safe?" The Emperor's expression darkened slightly. "No, safety is a fiction, Grandmaster. There are always threats, some we can perceive, others we cannot. The Sith remnants are contained but not eliminated. Unknown regions hold phenomena we don't understand. And," he paused, "I sense something else, distant, patient, watching this galaxy with interest that predates my arrival. More enemies? Possibly. Or simply the universe reminding us that no matter how strong we become, there's always something stronger. The Emperor turned to face Drex fully. But we're better prepared now than you were before I arrived. That's not arrogance, it's mathematical fact. Your defensive capabilities have increased by orders of magnitude. Your response times have decreased proportionally. If threats manifest, we'll face them together rather than separately. As long as you remain, Drex observed. I'm not immortal, the Emperor said, surprising the Jedi Master. I age slowly, yes, but I can be killed, and eventually, even I will fall to time or circumstance. That's why the institutions matter more than individuals. What we're building now, the Compact, the Force Academy, the integrated military structure, these must outlast me. My goal is to create a civilization that no longer needs me to survive. How long do you think that will take? The Emperor smiled. Centuries, probably. Perhaps a millennium. But I've already lived 40,000 years. What's a few more in service of ensuring humanity's survival? As Drex departed, the Emperor remained alone with his thoughts, contemplating the galaxy he'd reshaped. It wasn't perfect. It would never be perfect, but it was better. And for a being who'd watched countless civilizations collapse into darkness, better was achievement enough. 10 years later, the Imperial Force Academy stood as testament to transformation, a structure of gleaming white stone and golden accents that spiraled toward Coruscant's perpetual sky. Where the Jedi Temple represented ancient tradition, the Academy embodied synthesis, architecture that blended Republic elegance with Mandalorian fortification, meditation gardens adjacent to combat arenas, libraries containing both Jedi holocrons and Sith artifacts studied under controlled conditions. Master Kale walked its corridors with a mixture of pride and melancholy. He was older now, gray hair turned white, but his connection to the Force remained strong, perhaps stronger than before, refined through techniques the Emperor had shared. Around him, students of a dozen species practiced Force manipulation with unprecedented sophistication. In one chamber, a young human synthesized Jedi telekinesis with Sith passion focusing, lifting massive weights through disciplined emotional channeling rather than serene detachment. In another, a Twi'lek demonstrated what the Emperor called Force engineering, using the Force not mystically but as a tool for precise molecular manipulation, healing injuries at the cellular level. The Jedi had feared this would destroy their tradition. Instead, it had expanded it. Master Kale, a voice called from behind. He turned to find Sevra no longer Darth, simply Sevra, instructor of applied Force theory. She'd flourished in the decades since abandoning Sith doctrine, becoming one of the Academy's most effective teachers precisely because she understood both light and dark perspectives. The Emperor requests your presence in the observation sanctum. He says it's urgent. KL felt concern ripple through the Force. The Emperor rarely used the word urgent. What's happened? I don't know, but Grand Master Drex and Mandalore are already there. Whatever it is, it requires the Leadership Council. The observation sanctum occupied the Academy's highest level, a circular chamber with transparent walls offering panoramic views of Coruscant. More importantly, it contained equipment the Emperor had designed. Sensors that could detect Force disturbances across the entire galaxy. Technology that merged Republic engineering with principles from his own universe. When Kale arrived, he found an assembly that represented the new Republic's power structure. Grand Master Drex, aged further but still sharp. Mandalore the Preserver, now commander of Imperial Rapid Response Forces. Chancellor Vex's successor, a younger human woman named Arya Sen. Admiral Corridon, who'd become the Emperor's most trusted military advisor, and the Emperor himself, standing before a holographic display that showed the galaxy in three-dimensional detail. "Thank you for coming quickly," the Emperor said, his voice carrying uncharacteristic tension. "We have a situation developing in the unknown regions. Something I've been monitoring for the past 3 years has finally manifested into actionable intelligence." He gestured to the display, and a section of the unknown regions highlighted in crimson. "This is the Sith Empire, not remnants, not isolated Dark Lords, but a fully reconstituted empire that's been rebuilding in secret for centuries. They have a fleet. They have Sith Lords numbering in the hundreds, and they have technology we don't fully understand, possibly predating the Old Republic itself." The room fell silent. "How many ships?" Admiral Corridon asked, his tactical mind immediately assessing the threat. "Approximately 3,000 capital vessels, perhaps 50,000 smaller craft, ground forces numbering in the billions." The Emperor's expression was grim. "They've been watching us, waiting to see if my arrival would weaken the Republic enough to make invasion viable. Now they've concluded it's had the opposite effect. We're stronger, more unified, so they're accelerating their timeline. They'll attack within 6 months." "Can we win?" Chancellor Sen asked bluntly. "Yes," the Emperor replied without hesitation. "But the cost will be significant. Tens of thousands of casualties, possibly hundreds of thousands if they employ certain dark side techniques I've detected in their force signatures. Multiple worlds will be battlegrounds. The Republic will survive, but it will be bloodied. Then what do you propose?" Mandalore asked, leaning forward with the intensity of a warrior sensing imminent combat. "Prevention," the Emperor said simply. "I'm going to the unknown regions. Alone. I'm going to meet this Sith Emperor, yes. They have an Emperor of their own, and I'm going to offer him the same choice I offered you. Evolution or extinction. That's suicide," Grand Master Drex said flatly. "You're powerful, but walking into the heart of a Sith Empire alone, even you must recognize the tactical insanity. It's the only way to prevent galactic war," the Emperor countered. "If I go with a fleet, they'll interpret it as invasion and respond accordingly. If I go alone, it's a statement. I don't need an army because I don't fear you. It establishes psychological dominance from the first moment. Or it gets you killed," Kale pointed out. "And then we face this Sith Empire without you." The Emperor smiled slightly. "Master Kale, I've been killed before. 17 times across 40 millennia, by my count. I've been resurrected, reborn, reconstituted through various means. Death is inconvenient, but rarely permanent for beings like me. The question isn't whether I can survive, it's whether I can achieve my objective before they realize killing me is pointless." "What is your objective?" Chancellor Sen asked. "To show them what I showed you, that resistance is possible but pointless, that cooperation produces better outcomes, that the old dichotomy of Sith versus Jedi is obsolete." He turned to face the assembled leaders. "This Sith Emperor, whoever he is, has built his power on the belief that the dark side grants superiority. I'm going to demonstrate that belief is a limitation, not a strength. And if he's intelligent, truly intelligent, not just powerful, he'll recognize opportunity when it's offered. And if he's not intelligent?" Admiral Corridon asked. "Then I'll destroy his empire's military capacity and return with intelligence about their infrastructure so you can finish the job." The Emperor's tone suggested this was merely a contingency plan, not his preferred outcome, but I doubt it will come to that. Beings don't build empires lasting centuries through stupidity. He'll be formidable. That's what makes this interesting." Mandalore stood, placing his fist over his chest in Mandalorian salute. "If you're going to face an empire, you need a proper warrior's send-off. The clans will want to honor your departure." "Unnecessary," the Emperor began, but Mandalore cut him off. "It's not about necessity. It's about respect. You've given my people purpose. The least we can do is witness your departure properly." The Mandalorian's scarred face showed rare emotion. "Besides, if you don't return, we'll want to have said goodbye appropriately." The Emperor studied Mandalore for a long moment, then nodded. "Very well. Organize whatever ceremony your traditions demand. I depart in 48 hours." The ceremony was held in the Academy's central courtyard, attended by thousands. Jedi Masters stood beside Mandalorian warriors. Republic senators mingled with Force Academy students. Even civilians from Coruscant's lower levels came, beings whose lives had improved under Imperial oversight, who saw the Emperor not as tyrant, but as the force that had brought order to chaos. The Emperor stood at the courtyard's center, wearing his full ceremonial armor for the first time in years. He looked every centimeter the warlord he'd once been, golden and terrible, beautiful and frightening, the physical embodiment of will made manifest. Grand Master Drex stepped forward to speak first. "Emperor, you arrived in our galaxy as a disruption, an anomaly that bent the Force itself around your presence. We feared you. Many still do." His ancient voice carried clearly through Force amplification. "But you've proven that power without wisdom is tyranny, and wisdom without power is irrelevance. You've taught us synthesis, that light and dark, democracy and authority, individual freedom and collective purpose need not be eternally opposed. Whatever happens in the unknown regions, know that your influence on this galaxy will endure." Mandalore spoke next, his voice rough but sincere. "Warriors judge each other through combat. You fought beside my clans, bled with us, shared in victories and mourned defeats. Your vote, brother. If you fall, we'll avenge you. If you succeed, we'll celebrate your triumph. Either way, your name will be remembered in Mandalorian song until our culture itself fades into history." Chancellor Sen represented the Republic. "You've changed us, sometimes painfully. You've forced us to confront inefficiencies we'd ignored, prejudices we'd rationalized, complacencies we'd mistaken for virtues. The Republic you return to, if you return, will be different from the one you leave. Stronger, hopefully. Wiser, certainly. That evolution is your legacy, regardless of what transpires beyond our borders." Finally, a voice from the crowd, young, uncertain, a Padawan, barely 14, stepped forward despite the intimidating assembly. "Emperor, I just wanted to say thank you. My family are moisture farmers on Tatooine. We used to worry about raiders every night. Now we don't, because Imperial patrols keep us safe. My little sister wants to join the Academy when she's old enough. She has Force sensitivity no one detected before because we couldn't afford testing. You made that possible." The girl's voice cracked slightly. "So just, please come back, because people like us need leaders who actually make things better." The Emperor looked at the girl for a long moment, and for the first time since arriving in this galaxy, those assembled saw something unexpected in his golden eyes. Vulnerability. Not weakness, vulnerability. The recognition that, despite his power, despite his certainty, he was attempting something that might fail. That beings depended on him in ways that created obligation beyond mere political authority. "I will do everything in my power to return," he said, addressing the girl but speaking to the entire assembly. "Not because I'm irreplaceable, you've built institutions that will survive without me, but because I've become invested in this galaxy's future. You've reminded me why I've spent 40,000 years fighting, not for abstracts like humanity or civilization, but for individuals, farmers who deserve to sleep without fear, children who deserve opportunities regardless of birth circumstances, beings who simply want to live meaningful lives without constant threat of violence." He paused, his gaze sweeping across the assembled thousands. "I came to this galaxy expecting to find another broken civilization requiring my intervention. Instead, I found a civilization that was bent but not broken, struggling but not defeated, flawed but repairable. You didn't need a savior. You needed a catalyst, someone to force choices you'd been avoiding, to accelerate evolution you were already undergoing. His smile was genuine. Thank you for teaching me that even after 40 millennia, I can still learn. Now I'll go teach that same lesson to beings who believe themselves unchallengeable. He turned toward his waiting ship, the golden vessel that had become a familiar sight in Coruscant's skies, now prepared for a journey into hostile territory. But before boarding, he stopped and addressed Master Kale directly. Master Kale, if I don't return within 1 standard year, you'll find data crystals in the Academy's vault containing everything I know about governance, military strategy, force manipulation, and technological advancement. Use them. Continue what we've started. Don't let my absence become an excuse for regression. We won't, Kale promised. But you're coming back. I've seen it in Force visions, not clearly, but enough to know your story in this galaxy isn't finished. Visions show possibilities, not certainties, the Emperor replied. But I appreciate the sentiment. He boarded his ship, the ramp closing behind him with finality. The vessel lifted off, ascending through Coruscant's atmosphere with the same grace it had demonstrated upon arrival. This time, though, there was no fear in its departure, only hope mixed with apprehension. 3 months later, unknown regions. The Sith Empire's throne world was called Dromund Kaas, a planet perpetually shrouded in storm clouds, where lightning never ceased and darkness was both literal and metaphorical. The Imperial Palace stood as a monument to dark side mastery, obsidian spires reaching toward roiling skies, architecture that seemed to feed on despair and radiate malevolence. The God Emperor's ship descended through the storms, unbothered by lightning that would have destroyed lesser vessels. He landed in the palace's central courtyard, where an assembly of Sith lords waited, hundreds of them, their combined dark side presence creating an oppressive weight in the Force. And at their center, seated on a throne carved from a single massive kyber crystal corrupted to crimson, the Sith Emperor, ancient beyond measure, his face hidden behind a mask of pure dark side energy, his presence in the Force like a black hole that consumed all light. So, the Sith Emperor's voice was multiplied, as if 1,000 beings spoke in unison. The Golden Usurper finally comes to face true power. You've corrupted the Republic with your false promises of unity. You've poisoned Jedi against their principles and Sith against their passion. Now you stand before the inheritors of Darth Vitiate's legacy, and you will learn what true mastery of the Force means. The God Emperor walked forward calmly, ignoring the assembled Sith Lords who tensed for combat. He stopped 10 meters from the throne and spoke with the same reasonable tone he'd used in the Republic Senate. I've come to offer you the same opportunity I offered them: evolution. You've built an impressive empire here in isolation. Your mastery of dark side techniques is sophisticated. Your warriors are well trained, your fleet is formidable, but you're operating on obsolete paradigms. The dichotomy of light versus dark, it's limiting you. The belief that passion grants power, it's making you predictable. Join the greater galactic civilization. Bring your knowledge, your strength, your culture, not as conquerors but as contributors. The Sith Emperor laughed, a sound like reality cracking. You offer us partnership? You, who bend the Force through alien principles? Who claim to transcend the very duality that defines existence? The masked figure stood, and the entire palace trembled. I have consumed entire worlds to fuel my immortality. I have mastered techniques that make Jedi and Sith alike seem like children playing with candles. I am eternal darkness made manifest. And you think to negotiate with me? Yes, the God Emperor replied simply. Because you're intelligent enough to recognize when you're outmatched. You sensed my arrival in this galaxy. You've watched what I accomplished in the Republic. You know that open conflict between us would devastate both our civilizations. So I'm offering you an alternative. Demonstrate your intelligence by accepting cooperation over confrontation. The Sith Emperor raised one hand, and dark side energy erupted, force lightning that could level cities, channeled with precision that came from centuries of mastery. It struck the God Emperor directly and dissipated harmlessly, golden light consuming darkness like dawn burning away night. Impressive technique, the God Emperor observed. You've achieved remarkable efficiency in dark side channeling, but you're still bound by force mechanics. Let me show you what exists beyond those limitations. He extended his own hand, and reality shifted, not through the force, through something deeper. The fabric of space-time bent, responding to will that preceded even the force's existence. Every Sith Lord present felt their connection to the dark side, simply pause, not severed, not overpowered, just politely asked to wait, while something more fundamental took precedence. The Sith Emperor staggered, his mask flickering. For the first time in 1,000 years, he felt fear. "You're not of this universe," he whispered, recognition dawning. "You're something that shouldn't exist here." "And yet I do," the God Emperor replied. "Which means your cosmology is incomplete. Your understanding of power is provincial. You've mastered one energy system while remaining ignorant of countless others." He lowered his hand, and the force returned to normal. "I could destroy this palace, your fleet, your entire empire within hours. But I won't, because destruction serves no purpose when integration achieves better outcomes." He stepped closer to the throne, and not a single Sith Lord dared intervene. "Here are your options, Sith Emperor. Join the greater galactic civilization. Your knowledge becomes part of the Imperial Force Academy's curriculum. Your worlds receive Republic protection and trade access. Your Sith Lords become instructors in passion-focused techniques rather than isolated practitioners of dying arts. You maintain your culture, your traditions, your identity, but you channel them constructively rather than destructively." "And the alternative?" the Sith Emperor asked, though his tone suggested he already knew. "I systematically dismantle your empire. Not through war, I'll simply offer your worlds individual opportunities to join the Republic. Your fleet will be neutralized through superior technology. Your Sith Lords will be recruited through demonstration that their training is incomplete. Within 5 years, the Sith Empire will cease to exist as a political entity, remembered only as a curiosity in historical archives." The throne room fell silent except for perpetual thunder outside. The Sith Emperor was ancient enough to recognize truth when confronted with it. He'd spent a millennium building power through the dark side, and in 10 minutes, this golden being had demonstrated that power was relative supreme in one context, irrelevant in another. "If we join," he said slowly, "what guarantees do we have? What prevents the Republic from simply absorbing us, eliminating our culture, forcing us to become Jedi? The same guarantees the Mandalorians received, the same autonomy the Jedi maintained. You'll be Sith in the Imperial structure, not Sith against it. Your dark side techniques will be studied academically, not practiced religiously. Your passion will be directed rather than worshipped." The God Emperor's golden eyes met the Sith Emperor's masked gaze. "You'll exchange dominance for relevance, isolation for participation, ancient grievances for future possibilities. It's not a perfect offer, but it's better than extinction, which is your only alternative." The Sith Emperor sat back on his throne, his mask flickering as he processed variables across probability matrices only beings of his age could compute. "Finally, I accept, not because I'm weak, not because I fear you, but because I'm old enough to recognize when paradigms shift, when the rules of existence fundamentally change." He gestured to his assembled Sith Lords. "We will join your galactic civilization. We will teach our knowledge. We will see if synthesis truly surpasses purity, as you claim. The God Emperor nodded, genuine respect in his expression. Wise. You've just ensured your empire survives rather than being destroyed. That's the choice intelligent leaders make. They adapt to preserve what matters, rather than die to maintain what's ultimately irrelevant. As he departed Dromund Kaas, having accomplished in hours what should have required years of warfare, the God Emperor allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. Another civilization preserved, another potential catastrophe averted, another step toward the unified galaxy that could survive challenges not even he could fully predict. The ship ascended through perpetual storms, leaving behind a Sith empire that would join the Republic peacefully rather than invade it catastrophically. Behind him, the Sith Emperor sat alone on his throne, contemplating what it meant to have lived 1,000 years only to discover one's fundamental worldview was incomplete. And across the galaxy, beings who'd watched and waited and hoped received word that the Emperor was returning successful, unharmed, having negotiated peace where war seemed inevitable. The new Republic, forged through necessity and maintained through competence, had faced its first major external threat and prevailed without firing a shot. 20 years after integration, the God Emperor stood in the Academy's observation tower, watching a new generation of Force users train below. Jedi serenity merged with Sith passion, Mandalorian discipline with scholarly wisdom, former enemies teaching side by side, their ancient conflicts rendered obsolete by synthesis. Grand Master Drex was gone now, passed peacefully into the Force. Master Kale led the Jedi Council smaller, less authoritative, but paradoxically more influential through partnership than they'd ever been through isolation. The Sith Empire had integrated seamlessly. Their dark side academies became research centers. Their warriors joined Mandalorian clans. Their Emperor served as advisor on matters of ancient Force knowledge, his 1,000 years of experience finally utilized constructively. The Republic thrived not perfectly, never perfectly, but functionally. Democracy constrained by necessity, authority tempered by oversight, unity without uniformity. The Emperor knew he wouldn't remain forever. His work here approached completion. Other galaxies beckoned, other civilizations required intervention, other worlds needed the catalyst he provided. But this galaxy, this beautiful, chaotic, resilient galaxy, would survive without him now. They'd learned the lesson he'd spent 40,000 years teaching. Evolution isn't betrayal of principles, it's their ultimate expression. Survival demands adaptation, and unity, properly achieved, transcends conquest. The Emperor smiled, watching dawn break over Coruscant's endless spires. Another civilization saved, another chapter closed, countless more awaiting across the infinite cosmos. May the Force be with you. More stories await.